Hello, chat room. How are we doing today? I hope you're all doing real good. I hope you're all doing real good. I have a Michael's haul to show you all. That's the reason that I'm so late, is because I was there. I didn't expect it to take as long as it did, but it was impossible to find all of the yarn that I need. It turns out that Michael's does not care about lightweight yarn that much, except for sock weight, which obviously today was better. That's what I like to hear. Doing fan fucking tax. I'm so psyched. I'm psyched to hear that. Fan fucking tastic. Sorry, I said fan fucking tast. All right. What an idiot. Okay. It's good to see you guys. How are we doing? You all answered that already. I'm sorry. Hi. I didn't like get myself ready or anything. I'm sorry. I never look my best for you anymore. I really am sorry. I'm sorry. But are you excited to see all the shit that I got from Michael's? I got a bunch of stuff out of the clearance too. Oh no, Sperry. Well, at least it's back. Hopefully it doesn't go out again. 57 months is a long time. Zombie Broccoli, I'm always excited to see you. How are you? Thank you so much for your continued support. Genuinely means everything. Thank you. You're getting lightninged? Why, it must be grease lightning. It's just some overhead lightning. Lightning in the sky, oh yeah. I'm sorry. Goth makeup doxy sometime again. It will happen. That's like how I like to look. But right now I'm mostly just lazy. Sorry. It's just what's true. That's just what's true. I don't mean to be a fucker. But also, I cannot lie to my best chat. You're my only chat. Hi, Stuff with Self. Had a really bad day. No. Soph, I'm sorry that you had a bad day. Do you like to watch hauls? We could get started with the haul right now. Let's get to work on this. We've got a Soph in trouble and I'm not here to fucking drag out the sorrow. Say I'm completely done with getting ready. Got fired! No. I'm so sorry to hear that. In a fucking time where everybody's complaining about nobody wanting to work, I feel like firing somebody is fucking rich. Anyway, power to the proletariat. I think that the like anti-work movement is where it's at. I think work reform is like the new social issue, and I'm honestly fucking here for it. The Zoomers do not deserve the terrible fucking world that we are trying to leave them, and it's time for us to fucking fix it for them. You just got a partner? Oh my god, congratulations! Brand new love is the funnest. It's so fun. Like, I would not trade in my like cozy, comfortable anniversary having love with Josiah for anything. I wouldn't. But man, falling in love with him was really fun. I really liked it. It was bullshit reason, but hey, it's whatever. Ordered some gross food to make myself feel better. Hell yeah, eat about it. That's my favorite. Yes. My roommate swung the dopamine back into sewing, so I'm making some cottagecore skirts. Oh my god, that's so exciting. Moth, I really love your aesthetic, and I can't wait to see them. I definitely, once I start making real money, I really want to commission an outfit from you really bad. I fucking love your aesthetic. Okay. Are you guys ready for this haul? Are you ready to see all the stuff that I got today? Because you guys helped me hit my financial goal last month. Again, I can't thank you guys enough. I'm sorry that I couldn't film it, but it's, I don't know if I told you guys or not, it's a corporate policy of theirs. They didn't care. They were like, we would let you, but if, like, for some reason, a clip or whatever from your stream blows up and gets really famous, and they find out that we let you film in here, then we would lose our jobs. And I was like, you know what? I don't want that to happen to you. So I guess I will not. I guess I will not film. I did ask them, though. Okay. So, Doxy, would you be interested in doing lookbook kind of streams? I feel like it'd be sick. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea what that means. I'm so sorry. I have no idea what that means. Okay, anyway. Get ready for a lot of neutral colors because all this stuff is going to be going in a shop, and I don't want to do anything too crazy. I do have one really, really fun yarn that we are going to use to make that beautiful bag that we saw. But okay, for the ballerina shirt, we got this gorgeous neutral gray. It's Bernat Softy baby yarn in the lightweight, because that's what they only had these like baby and pastel colors. I also got this white for the same project. They only had like neutral and pastels in this weight of yarn, and it's so infuriating. I'm gonna have to just get over my fear of shopping for yarn online. Anyway, yeah. You put together outfits based on different aesthetics and topics. There is so much cool content on YouTube for it. So if you want to suggest a mystery or something, just put 1 or 2 links to videos of it. I'll look. I can't promise because I have body dysphoria. I hate the way that my body looks all the time. So it's really hard for me to feel good about filming myself. But if I can see if I can make it work. The gray and white look very pretty. I love how shiny and soft they are. They're really, really soft. I'm very excited to make that shirt too, because I think it's going to be really pretty. And then we got a really lovely super dark gray. And this is just all purpose. This isn't for any one project in particular. We're going to be able to get a few projects out of this because this is a shitload of yarn. This is 1,020 yards, 932 meters. So we'll be able to get quite a few projects out of this guy, I think. And then for that Scooty, we have this bulky yarn right here. I didn't tell you the brand name of this. This is Pound of Love Lion Brand. I like Lion Brand. If you guys didn't, I think that they are the perfect value. I like Lion Brand a lot. Okay, and then we have 3 of these guys. I'm not going to pull them all out because we don't need to. In the color taupe, which is funny because me and Josiah make fun of Kika for being taupe. Like it's like some horrible thing. Like we're racist against taupe cats or something. I don't know. It's stupid. But I got 3 of these to make that Scooty, which is the scarf with the hoods. And this is just that Eco Cozy line, but this was anything but economic. This is a very expensive, very nice yarn, and I'm really excited about it. I think that this Scooty is going to be fucking sick. Okay, and then here is the super fun yarn, that we're going to make the bag out of. It's this gorgeous purple that has a like purple tinsel style thing going through it. It's purple and white. I love it. I kind of want to start with this just because I'm so excited about this yarn, but I think that we should probably get to work on the Scooty. Kika is getting mad disrespected. He is. You're not wrong. And this is Shawl in a Ball, Lion Brand. I did not even realize all these were Lion Brand. But I do like Lion Brand a lot. And I love their website. I like Lion Brand a lot. The spooky vibes from the purple yarn, so cute. I think that it's going to make a beautiful, beautiful bag. And I am so fucking stoked on it. This is, how many yards is it? It says on here somewhere. 481 yards. So this is 100 more than we need for the bag, which is cool. So I'll have 100 yards left over to just do something with. Maybe like it usually takes me less than 100 yards to make a hat or something. And then we got a couple things, a couple different pieces of hardware here that I will show you. Oh yeah, also got some black thread just for like darning or like sewing on buttons or whatever I need to do. Got these. They're just gonna be working for now for just like border blocking, border stretching and stuff like that. We have these buttons that we will be using for like the vest or like when we do shawls and stuff like that, or if we have mittens that have decorative buttons. I'm pretty jazzed on these. They're really cute. Got these buttons on clearance. It's just plain white buttons with 2 holes. These were only $1.50 Canadian. So that's like not even money. It's basically free. And then finally have one of these so I can take my proper ass measurements, and I'm very excited about it. And then last but not least, a little brown yarn and some eyeballs so that I can make Bear Taffy a little bear. But don't tell him. Like, seriously, if anybody tells him, I'm going to be really sad. Okay. So what project do you guys want to start today? Do you want to start the vest? Do you want to start the ballerina top? Do you want to start the scooty? Or do you want to start the bag? I don't think we should do the bag. I do not think we should do the bag. Because I don't think that we should blow our fun yarn load right now. I don't think we should. Oh, it's so cute, though. I'm so psyched on it. I'm kind of feeling like we should start the ballerina top. Which I think would be fun. Hi, Vexen Vixen. Wait, are you going to make Kika a toy? I make Kika so many toys all the time. All the time. But no, Bear Taffy is a fellow content creator that I've known since he first started. And he has way surpassed me. He's way, way, way bigger than me now, but I love him. You want to start the bag. If everybody wants to start the bag, we'll start the bag. I'm so scared that you guys are going to get bored of me if we do the bag and then move on to something else later. I'm kind of feeling like we should start this scooty. Corset? I don't have a corset project just yet, but I would love to make one. I would love to make a few for myself. I love corsets and I look fucking awesome in them. Oh, somebody says vest here. Well, somebody, Lycan, says vest. I'm not going to act like you're not a person. Not here. Oh, yeah, I also got felt tip permanent markers, but I had Josiah put those in his office. Okay. So if you guys want, let me pull up those projects again so that you guys can vote with that in mind. I'm curious about the very fancy line for the scooty. The scooty is very cute. Excuse me. I would like to go to my favorites. Okay, this is the scooty. Right here. I feel like starting that would be very fun, and it would be in this yarn right here. Oh no, it's super bulky. I only got regular
Walk with dignity,
bulky.
giant
Whoa!
toddler.
Walk with dignity. Dignity. Walk with dignity, you giant toddler. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it so much. Callista, how are you? It's good to see you. We're just trying to decide what project we're going to start today. Oh, I'm hanging in there. How you be yourself? So, okay, that's the Scooty, but now I feel like we shouldn't start that. We've also got this bag, which I think is so cute, and we would do it in here, I'll show you. This cute purple that has like shiny through it. 380 yards. Yeah, I definitely have enough here. No, I don't. Was this for the vest? No, it certainly was not for the vest. What was this for? Yeah, no, it's for the bag. It's for the bag. I'm a big dumb idiot. It is. It's for the bag. Okay, and then we have this ballerina top, which is gonna take some finding here. It takes a hot minute. Because we can't bookmark directly the project. We can only bookmark this this page that takes us to it. There's a lot of stuff on this page that I want to do, though. I really like this lady's style. I think that she does really fun projects and has very good taste. We're almost there. I know it's around these projects. I'm so sorry about the wait. Right here. This one. That's the ballerina one. I think it is so pretty, and I cannot wait to make it. Do you have a Discord? Then we can share our crocheted items with you. Absolutely. Discord.gg/fartslide. I've been better, but I'm relaxing and getting better. No, I'm so sorry that... Well, I hope that... Yeah. I hope that you get better sooner rather than later. Thank you so much for the raid. You're so sweet to me. And then... For the last thing, where's the vest? This vest. I would have to buy it really quick, but that's okay. This vest is one of the things that I think it will be so fast, and I'll be able to make a bunch of them very quickly. Kind of crazy how many things can be crocheted. It's impressive how many patterns can also be done as well. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited. And, like, there's no shortage of patterns out there. Anyway, do you guys want to do the vest, the ballerina top, or the bag? Those are the three that we can do today since I'm a fuck up and I got the wrong size yarn for the Scooty. I feel like we could make this work, though. I really do. Fuck it. We can try. We can try the Scooty, too. So Scooty's in the running too. Should I make a poll? Do I have any I know that I've seen at least Sperry. Sperry, if you're in here and can make a poll, I would be so psyched. Also, I forgot to... Oh, fucking Dragon Rana, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Do you know how to make a poll? Sperry, sorry. I just did not address you. We need to know between vest, bag, scooty, and ballerina top. Those are the 4 options. I do think that that top is so fucking cute. And as soon as I know how to make it, I'm going to make myself one in all the colors. I think it's the prettiest thing. There's the vest. There's a bag. There's a scooty. It's a scarf hoodie. Scooty. And a ballerina top. So there's 4 things. Vest here. Ballerina top here. The bag is here. And, oops, the scooty. Hooded scarf, if you prefer, is here. How do I look at results? I can only report it. Okay, this is fine. Could you crochet a fart slide? Maybe. That's so okay. There's also, oh yeah. There's this one too that I forgot about entirely. This is a different one from before, but I would be willing to buy that really fast too if we needed to. I love how anytime I do a poll, you fuckers get it as close to even as possible. Fuckers. I thought we liked each other. I thought we liked each other here. I thought we had a mutual respect thing going on. I thought. Every stream ever, right? It's ridiculous. It looks like nobody wants to make the bag except for, I know that Soph did on YouTube. I'm so sorry. I feel like, oh, you want to see the vest? Well, the vest, okay, we can add vest to vest. Add 1 to vest. Leslie, how are you? It's so good to see you. How have you been? I've been missing ya. Oh shit, ballerina top is winning now. It's a close one. I wish that I could open this in another fucking window. That would be really nice. And then I would just like capture it and you guys would be able to like see. I have songs from Greece stuck in my head all day, every day now. I just got here and don't know what we're polling about, but I'm voting for whatever is in second place. You fucking would. Sorry, you still have to choose because there are 2 things in second place between the scooty and the vest. A scooty is a hooded scarf. What's Grease? It's a musical. It's very problematic. It's very rapey and misogynist. But I love it. I love Grease. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I know that it's problematic trash, but I love musicals. What can I say? Okay, Vest is now tied. Grease is just a product of its era in a big way. I hate Grease, but the songs kind of slap. Like, totally, though. I don't steal, and I don't lie, but I can't feel, and I can't cry. I fucking love it. I love... Rizzo is the queen. God, I fucking love it. What will they say? Monday at school. Say it with me, folks. This is why we do ranked photo, like in a big fucking way, though. Everything, you guys, it's 5s across the board. I have Grease on VHS tape. I love that movie. Yeah, I loved it too. I am the second one. Rizzo supremacy in a big fucking way. Her song is the best too. It's the best one. But to cry in front of you. I agree, Calista. If you want to DM me what your schedule is like, I will let you know what times work for me and we can go from there. Does that sound good? Oh, fuck, the vest pulled into front. There's only a couple of seconds left. You only liked Beauty School Dropout? No graduation day for you. Beauty School Dropout. Flunked your midterms, missed your midterms and flunked shampoo. Whatever, I don't know. It's been a long time. Okay, the vest won. More people said vest on Les Lie. Stop. No, where have you been? Have you been okay? Have you been all right? I have Grease on VHS. I love it. Have you ever seen Ice Guy? Have you ever seen Grease 2? I also liked Grease 2. The song Do It for Our Country. So funny, where he literally is trying to get her to fuck. Like, fools her into thinking that the city they're in is, like, actively being bombed. Let's do it for our country. Red, white, and the blue. It's not a lot to ask of us, 'cause our parents will approve. You'll be a mighty soldier. Y'all win this war for you. Let's do it for our country. We owe it to our country. Let's do it for our country. Our country wants us to. By the way, what is a scooty? It's a scarf with a hood. Okay, so I have to turn this off for a second and buy this thing. Sounds like a Family Guy episode, not gonna lie. Yeah, that's because it's rapey. It's, like, pretty not cool, to be perfectly honest. Problematic. Why, it must be Grease Lightning. I'm just a greaser raping ladies in the back of my car, oh yeah. Raping ladies. Yeah, I rape the ladies. Hi, Sunday Crochet. Sorry that I was singing about rape when you came in. Sorry that I sang about rape at all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm just sorry in general all the time. Honestly. $215-880. Sick. '80s movies had so much rapey stuff, like, in a big way. You're surprised you're unfamiliar with that tune? Go look it up right the fuck now, Quinn. It's so good. Ooh. You want supreme? The chicks will cream. For Grease of Lightning. I'm watching those movies soon. I don't care. I'm doing it. I'm watching them soon. And I'm going to be like, ew, the entire time that a song isn't going. But then when the songs are on, I'm going to be singing. That's just like how it's going to go. Who's that lady on the radio? But I have an account. I would like, please, to download this. Oh, download files. There it is. You want supreme chicken cream? I'm entirely too good at that. Summer melted them in your storage unit. Oh, no. They danced to the song Grease Lightning. It literally says, "You are supreme, the chicks will cream." You know that it's legit. We'll be getting lots of tit with Greased Lightning. They danced to Greased Lightning. That's so fucked up. That's fucked up. It was like one of those years that my state had record highs for heat. I am just saying that shouldn't be possible. Like, that shouldn't be. We got to do something about fucking global warming because it's out of fucking control. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Okay. Grease is a good movie, just don't show it to kids. Like, just take it with a grain of salt and hope that... Teach your sons not to be like the boys in Grease. And teach the girls that they don't have to change for nobody. Nobody know how. Okay, so I need to open... my downloads. Open file. But I don't know. I want it in Firefox, please. Firefox is my favorite PDF reader, by the way. I think that it is the best one. It's the only reason that I keep it on my computer. I like Chatzilla. It's IRC function too. They missed bleeping out the second pussy wagon, not the whole thing. Oh my gosh. Ooh. This lady is very thin. Like, no, I'm sorry. That's not supposed to be, like, shamey. I don't think there's anything wrong with being very thin. Like... a lot of people are perfectly healthy and very thin. Okay, all right, are you guys ready for your true crime? I'm gonna do the vest in this all-purpose black that we got. So I need to reach in there and find the end. Shit. Does anybody have any tips for finding the end from the middle? Because I suck at it. But it's the way that I prefer to fucking pull. Keep talking. Whoa, keep talking. It's gonna be the rest of my life. I'm just fucked. Pound of love, yeah. I like this stuff, though. I like Lion Brand yarns a lot. I think that Lion Brand is really fucking good value yarn. Okay, well, I just pulled out this big of a ball, so might as well have not fucking even bothered. Very cool. We have, like, an entire skein of yarn right here. Fucking phenomenal. This sucks. This sucks bad. Okay, well. Oh my goodness. Geladrine.
Geladrine Sparkler.
Thank you so much for resubscribing. Did you recently change your name? I'm so sorry. I don't recognize your name. And you've been subscribed for 9 months. I feel awful. That's the one that I had crazy yarn barf the other day. Yeah. You did? Okay, that makes me feel so much better. And is it Geladrine or Geladrine or Geladrine? I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me. I'm awful at names. For some reason, I'm awesome at, like, a lot of the time people are like, that is the first time that anybody has ever said my name right or whatever. But also, I fuck up a lot of names too. We're just singing about rape in here, so that's pretty cool. Sorry, for context, we're talking about the musical Grease. You're having deja vu right now. I hate getting deja vu. Deja vu gives me anxiety really bad. I fucking hate it. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just don't like it when my brain feels like is reminded how little control we have over stuff. You prefer Grease 2 over Grease? Yeah, it's way less rapey. I'm with you, Hacks Matt. It's so much less rapey, except for the whole do it for our country one. Lying to a lady to get sex from her is not cool. Singing about rape tracks with true crime and crochet, you're not wrong. By the way, I found a fun new streamer that we're going to raid sometime. I went in and I started talking to him just because his face caught my eye. Like, he just had this beautiful smile and I was like, that's a handsome boy. Let's go say hi. And so I watched for a couple minutes and he was watching some love reality show on a cruise ship that I don't know anything about. Hello, Absolute Goblin. How are you? Anyway, I went and I talked to him and I was like, okay, what's your most controversial opinion? I need to know if you're rateable or not. And he shares a lot of opinions with our community. I just started crochet and I am having trouble with my double stitches. Any tips? Well, it depends on what you mean by double stitch. Do you mean like a double crochet? Or like when you crochet two together? Or when you're trying to crochet two in the same stitch? At any rate, with all of those, I think the most important thing is learning tension, practicing tension. A double crochet? Yeah, as soon as I find the end of this, well, you know what? I think that this is probably good, actually. I need to pull my bowl up here. Pardon me, everybody. Yeah, here's the end. Let me show you. I low-key want to start streaming, but I feel it's awkward when you live with other people. Fuck them. Like, no offense, other people. I'm sure you're wonderful, but, like, fucking chase your dream, dude. Like, if you get to the point where you can start making livable wage money from streaming, you will not care one bit who overhears the shit that you have to say. Okay, so I'm going to show you, let me just get like a fucking row of 10 going here quickly. The tension isn't going to be gorgeous because I'm just trying to be fast. 1, 2, turn this into a single crochet here. Butts. Hi, Gardevoir. How are you? It's good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a few streams, which is okay. No shame. Just happy to have you back. I'll get the money. I'll kill to get the money. Okay. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll just do 5 actually, just to save some time because you won't need to see it too many times. So with double crochet, what I recommend definitely is you want to ensure that your tension is nice. You want a little bit of tension. Like you don't want it to have a whole lot of slack to it, but you also don't want it to get super loose. Just like make sure that you're letting through exactly the right amount of yarn that you need and not any more. So the way that I was shown was to make a single line and then attach the second line to it. So the way that I do it, and I think everyone, is you yarn over first, and then you insert into the stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. There will be 2 loops remaining on your hook, yarn over, and pull through the remaining 2. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, 3 loops on your hook there, yarn over, draw through 2. There will be 2 left, yarn over, draw through 2. Today has been real shitty, hoping to just vibe and relax for the remainder of my active consciousness. Well, I can't promise you that our true crime today will be very relaxing, but we'll do our best. I'm so sorry that you're having a rough day. I feel like a lot of you are having a rough day. I would just talk to the roomies and let them know that you'll be streaming and at least ask if there's certain times where you won't be disturbing their sleep or whatever. True, I just am nervous about everything and got to figure out how Facecam would work with streaming. It's really easy. It's really, really easy. I think tension is my problem. Tension is something that I very much recommend practicing tension with double crochets. Double crochets are what got me good at tension. I have beautiful tension now, and it's because of all of my making tons of hats with double crochets. I sat down and I made 100 infant caps and 100 mother caps to donate to like a women's shelter. And at the end of that, my tension was pristine. I started that as a beginner. I ended it as a fucking man. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna undo this now. I'm a silly goose, and to be honest, I am worried how people react to my face, even though my YouTube channel has my face on it. Anybody that is going to decide whether they like your content based on your looks or not is not a fan that you want to have anyway. I understand that it's really hard to not let that kind of thing affect the way that you feel, not to let that kind of thing affect your emotions. But for what it's worth, I haven't looked at your channel. I don't know what you look like. I haven't seen your face. But I think that you're a beautiful person just the way that you are. I really am always so excited to see you in my chat. And I hope that you can know that and feel beautiful. A bad day is inevitable when insomnia claims victory and has me awake for 35 plus hours on 4 hours of rest. Oh no, Gardevoir. My friend knitted me a willy warmer for Christmas. That would be an interesting project for the stream. I think maybe yes. I have definitely made a bunch of them. New project. What is it? We're going to be doing this vest. I'll show it to you quickly. Oops. Hello. That's what we want. I am so sorry about This vest right here is what we'll be making today. Hopefully we'll get it done in one stream here too. It looks like a very fast project. Oh my God. I just paid $6.49 for this. Fucking whatever. Maybe it gets cheaper once you've bought it already though, because that kind of thing happens sometimes. Anyway, we've got, time to hydrate. Thanks for looking out for me, Moth. I appreciate you. Also, Doxy, picking up your hello as a tick. You shall live in infamy. I'm so sorry. Oh, no, I am not a person you want to emulate by fucking choice or no. I'm so sorry. Man, I feel bad. I feel really snotty every time I catch myself doing that hello. It's so very, very 90s to go, hello. Gag me. Gag me with his spoon. Like, totally, for sure. Will and Graham. Please give yourself a hug from Ol ZD.
How's my absolutely fucking gorgeous, wonderful, delightful, garbage monster human friend doing today?
I love you. Nice. This is nothing I had to tone down the amount I watched one streamer because I was starting to oh no. Whatever. As F. Now I need to watch Clueless. It's better than Mean Girls. It's the better version of Mean Girls. And Mean Girls rules. That movie is amazing. But Clueless, iconic. The fuck out of here with anything else. Okay, can I just get 4 readies in chat and then we'll get this true crime train rolling? I'm just a greaser raping ladies in the back of my car, oh yeah. Grease lightning, go grease lightning. You are supreme, the chicks will cream. Or grease lightning. All right, here we go, boys.
Today, celebrity is the easiest thing to obtain. Every day, someone new, beautiful, and funny gets retweeted on Twitter or posts a video and gets hundreds of thousands of views, which equates to thousands of dollars, which then turns into brand deals, which
Clueless
then
is a
turns
90s
into an
movie that
entire
is
career. People
incredible.
like
It's
Brittany Broski, Sarah
one of Paul
Schauer,
Rudd's
Drew
first
Gooden,
projects.
and more post short, 10-second clips and gain millions of followers almost at once, changing their lives forever. Suddenly, people are telling you that you saved their life. Simply by posting. People are sending you gifts and fan mail, telling you that you make their life better just by existing. And now you're getting money just by doing the things you were doing anyway.
My
What could be
5.5
better?
is downstairs.
While social media stardom can seem incredibly alluring,
Looks like we're
there
making
is
a big one.
ultimately a dark side, because how can you ever be sure who is on the other side of the screen? And how can you keep yourself safe when you don't know that you're in danger? Welcome back to another episode of Dreading. Today we are going to be talking about the case of Bianca Devins, which was requested by one of our subscribers who unfortunately watched this case in real time. And unfortunately, a lot of this case happened in real time and was live streamed on social media, which makes it extremely easy to stumble upon disturbing material even if you weren't looking for it.
Okay, we got to
Due to
chain
how
150.
available graphic images surrounding this case are online, I do want to warn you not to Google Bianca's name, and to be wary if you feel compelled to look up any part of this case. While researching, I unfortunately found multiple images that I didn't wish to see, and it's my responsibility to let you know before you search. All links in the comment section of this video will likewise be filtered,
I'm the
so
worst
nothing graphic is
person.
posted or shared. The family has made it clear that
Hang tight. I'm so sorry. I have to go downstairs. I can get my proper needle at least that way. And by needle, I mean hook. My stuff isn't going to be here until the 13th. So I've been using bobby pins as stitch markers. I need to grab those. I'm so fucking dumb. Please hang tight for just a moment. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Also, Jeremy Sisto. Jeremy Sisto. All right, be right back. I would fucking die for Jeremy Sisto. Are you kidding me? I would die for him. Okay. That's a sick emote combination. I love that. I did not realize that Jesse had new emotes. How old are those? So, Doxy, I was just thinking about when we were in LA while I was at the gym today and how you are the literal best rideshare buddy. I don't know why that came to mind, but it did. So I just wanted to say thank you for making it so comfortable for me while we were there. I don't know if I've mentioned that to you, but I wanted to. Anyways, I'm going to be lurking while I make some food since I just got back from the gym and such. Well, thank you. That's really nice of you to say. Thank you. I think that the trick is just that I genuinely just like people and I like to hear about what they have going on. And I think that people can tell that. So it's like easier for them to talk to me, if that makes sense. Like, that's why I never have like awkward situations with like barbers or rideshare drivers and stuff like that. But that's nice of you to say. Thank you so much. Timothy Chalamet kind of looks like Jeremy Sisto. I can't like imagine him super attentive to me being comfortable. Yeah, I could definitely tell sometimes that you were getting a little anxious, and I nobody wants that, right? I'm glad that I could help you feel better. That I genuinely, that's like one of the best compliments that I feel like I can receive. You're a good friend, and I appreciate you too, bud. Aw. Go make yourself some fucking food. Take care of that body. Okay. We've got our bobby pins so that we can make stitch markers. I have to... it's... Okay, so it says chain 150 and then single crochet each across. So I'm just gonna do... 149 stitch chainless foundation. Then again, I bet this wants a more rigid situation. Timothy Chalamet is this generation's Johnny Depp, just saying. We'll see. We'll see. I thought that he stunk to high heaven in Dune, I'm not gonna lie. I think that I definitely remember thinking, wow, what a beautiful boy. And that, like, I really liked just his aura. I liked his demeanor, but I did not like his performance, like, at all. I feel bad about it, but he broke my immersion a couple of times, and that's hard to do in a world as immersive as the Dune world. He's gonna be the next Willy Wonka. No, he killed it in Dune as Paul. It broke my immersion. Like, I thought that he was just bad. I'm sorry. I think that I am a very, very small minority for what it's worth. He killed it in French Dispatch and Little Women. I haven't seen Little Women and I need to. Does he play Laurie in Little Women? Because I bet he did kill the role of Laurie. I bet he fucking smoked that role. They are remaking the Blade movies. That is fucking cool to hear. That's cool as fuck. Did they already have like certain cast in mind? Also, can I just get 4 readies in chat and we'll get back to our true crime here. I'm so sorry that I had to go for a second. But yeah, this wouldn't have worked out. Yes, he is Laurie. Okay. Fucking, I loved the Winona Ryder Little Women, and I loved the book, obviously. It's a classic for a reason. Okay, here we go.
That they do not want these images out there, and so they will not be shared here. Before we begin, I do want to take a moment to say thank you. At the time of recording, we just passed 2 months of uploading and hit 25,000 subscribers. I didn't foresee this.
You guys should really go fucking subscribe to this guy for letting us use his videos.
That I make and the continued issues that
dreading,
channels like mine have with YouTube, I
parenthesis,
didn't think growing at this rate would be possible. I have opened
crime
a
and
Patreon,
psychology,
which I will link below,
and
will be making one
parenthesis.
Patreon exclusive video
Please
per
go
month,
subscribe
with
to
other
him.
perks
He's
like
such a
early access to
baller.
videos, voting on topics, and more. Eventually, the hope is to be able to quit my job and focus on this full time, but I will cross that bridge when I come to it. With that said, let us begin.
All right.
In most reporting around this case,
I'm just
Bianca
going to chain
Devins
it. I'm just going to chain it in
mischaracterized as a
case they want
famous
it to be
e-girl with a
rigid.
huge online following, which is entirely untrue. Bianca's social media did boost thousands of followers prior to her passing, but she was in no way a social media icon that other publications stated she was. She wasn't making a living online, and her followers were mostly her friends and people she talked to often. She wasn't famous. She didn't have fans. She was simply chronically online, the way so many other teens are. Growing up, Bianca was a spitfire. Her mother, Kim, had gotten pregnant when she was just 17, after dating Bianca's father for a few months. The relationship between Kim and Bianca's father, Mike, wasn't good, with Mike being equal parts emotionally abusive and distant, with multiple police reports backing up her claims. But Kim did all she could to take care of Bianca and her younger sister. Bianca was rambunctious and spirited, interested in everything that she saw. More than that, Bianca was incredibly protective, fighting at a young age with her father about how he treated her mother, then later protecting her younger sister in the same way. Bianca was the type of person who everyone wanted on their side. She was unafraid of conflict and always tried to do what she believed was right. She cared more than the average person, taking time to get to know the people around her to a degree most wouldn't. And when asked, one of her classmates who had been bullied stated that he believed that she was the only person in their class that had actually been nice to him throughout his 4 years in high school, that she was the only person who tried to get to know him for him, and not because she wanted something. But that was just who Bianca was. Despite the fact that Bianca was incredibly forthright and caring to those around her,
What's her profile?
she wasn't
She's
able
dead.
to give that love
She's
to the
dead,
one who
bud.
needed it the most, herself. According to her mother, when Bianca entered middle school, it was like a switch flipped in her mind, and suddenly she lost interest in everything. She had been incredibly popular early in her school career. However, with the exception of a handful of classmates, Bianca shut herself off from the rest of the world, suddenly becoming incredibly shy and anxious in social situations. Even going outside would start to become a problem for Bianca. She almost fully retreated from the outside world, with the exception of going to school, and instead began to start posting online. She became obsessed with anime, Minecraft, and meme culture. She would spend hours on her phone and on the family computer, choosing to stay in rather than go out with her friends and family. She found that online she could project the perfect image of herself, the person who she felt she was always falling short of being. It was then that she began to post under multiple different names, such as Switchblades, Bia, Oxycontin, BGTFO, and more. The change in Bianca was startling and concerning to those around her, and her mother made it a point to try and get her professional help. She took her to multiple therapists, where they sat down and went over the extreme change that had seemingly manifested out of nowhere, but none of the therapists they saw could determine what had happened. It's just growing pains, they said. She'd sort herself out. They quickly wrote the changes off as just teen girl things, and sent them on their way. However, Bianca's behavior would continue to worry those around her. After entering high school, Bianca began to be bullied. She was 5'10", pale, and stuck out amongst her peers. Her interest in anime and Japanese fashion made her stand out even more, with the majority of her classmates not sharing her interests and finding them off-putting. On multiple of her social media accounts, remnants of this bullying remains, with anonymous posters telling her she's ugly, addicted to drugs, and should hurt herself. To those she did spend time with,
I didn't know that
became known as a
part
kind-hearted
at all.
but erratic person.
That's really
She would spend
sad.
hours talking to others about their issues, allowing them to vent whatever frustrations they had to her. But when asked about herself, she would lie for seemingly no reason. On one occasion, she told a friend that she was Jewish, which she wasn't, and that she had been diagnosed with autism. To a former boyfriend, she told them she was Asian, then later changed that and said she was Cuban. Bianca's behaviors, though concerning, were once again hand-waved by most around her as just teenage girl things. She was simply lying to gain a certain amount of attention from those around her, and she'd grow out of it. It wasn't until she began to have panic attacks at the prospect of going outside that Kim realized that something was very wrong. Loud sounds and sudden movements became too much for her, and if she was overstimulated, she would have a mental breakdown. Halfway through her sophomore year in high school, Kim pulled her out to pursue homeschooling, wanting to help her daughter. She was also formally diagnosed with PTSD as well as borderline personality disorder, and began getting treatment for both.
Yeah, she
which
absolutely
greatly
was
helped
not
her.
ugly.
On Bianca's Telenym account,
There is
Bianca
nobody
acknowledged her
in
own
life
struggles
that is
with mental
crueler
health
than
from when she was in high
teenage
school.
girls
Someone
to
anonymously
other
sent her this
teenage
message.
girls.
You are the most mentally unstable person I know, and you wear it like a badge of honor. Your life is nothing but struggle because you won't even try to improve yourself, instead opting down the same path of self-destruction and vice. Being mentally unhinged isn't something to be proud of, especially if it's ruining your life. Just quit this shitty facade and face reality, you fucking coward. To which Bianca replied, this would have been true like last year. In response to another comment, Bianca wrote, I was 15 to 16, and I was stupid and made a lot of bad decisions. My personality hasn't changed much, besides being better now. In another post on the same forum, a seemingly separate anonymous account wrote to
Hi,
her
sweet
saying,
Kika.
I really care about you and want you to live a fulfilling life. You're better than
Kika's
who
here.
you were, and I really hope you make it in life. To which she replied, this means a lot to me.
She is a
I'm
pretty
going through
thing.
some weird stuff
That's
right
really
now, but I've
sad.
come a long
I mean,
way
it would
since a
be
few
sad
years
even if
ago.
she wasn't a
Because
pretty
Bianca
thing,
had been
but,
taken
like,
out of school, she delved further into the internet,
it's
choosing to
really
present
sad
herself as different, idealized versions of herself. She wanted people to see
that people
her not as
called
who
her
she
ugly
was,
when she
but who she dreamed she
like
could
truly
be, which
fucking
materialized
wasn't.
in
Like,
her having different multiple accounts and talking to people under various aliases. In her mind, who she was in real life
bullies
was
do just
disappointing
ruin
and unlovable,
everything.
and LARPing as other
You're not
people was the
wrong.
only way to get people to truly love her. Some of these accounts talk about drug use, eating disorders, and self-harm, but it's
Hi,
entirely
sweet Kika.
unclear
You're
how
so
much of this
wonderful.
Bianca had actually done and how much she was simply, in her words, cosplaying. She was also incredibly bullied on these accounts, with people claiming that she wasn't mentally ill and was just an attention-seeking sociopath. And it would only get worse the farther and farther into online culture
If
she
you think
delved.
that
It was around that
sociopathy is
time that
not
Bianca
mentally
found
ill,
4chan, the anonymous
I would
image
like you
board
to
community.
please visit the
Bianca found site
sociopathy
and quickly
wiki or
began
something.
posting. Because
Jesus
of her
Christ.
appearance, youth, and the fact that she was one of the only girls posting on the image board, Bianca quickly garnered a small audience of dedicated men who are obsessed
want to
with
hug her
In
so
an
much,
interview
yeah.
about her murder,
Poor
a friend
thing.
of Bianca's named Erica Rose, who also posted to 4chan in the same boards of Bianca, talked about how Bianca
Kika.
would engage with the men who followed her, and how she was ultimately too nice to them. These men, who she referred to as orbiters, were obsessed about the girls they followed, to the point of being dangerous. Because girls were so rare to find on the board, men would become obsessed with them,
66,
particularly if they were underage and easily
67.
manipulated. These men would send these girls
68.
gifts and adoration with the hope that they would give them
Nice.
some form of attention back, with many
70.
demanding nudes for their time and efforts. The gifts could be innocent, like stuffed animals, clothing, or even money, but sometimes they would go so far as to send the girls drugs. The more elaborate and expensive the gift, the more it was generally felt the girl owed. Much like celebrity stalkers who feel they have a relationship with someone they have never met, these men create an entirely false ideal of who the person behind the screen was. They romanticize them to the point where they stop being a person. And the moment she were to do something to fall out of favor with their
5.
idea of
Hi,
who she
baby
is supposed to
kitty.
be, the illusion is shattered. The result is oftentimes incredibly dangerous. In the same article, Erica describes different scenarios of things she had seen happen when the orbiter's illusion is shattered. In most cases, she said, it
Hi,
usually involves
AJ.
the
How
girl
are
being
you?
doxed or her nudes being
good to
leaked.
see you.
That
We
is
just
seemingly
started a
the
new
best case
project
scenario,
today.
and one that was alarmingly common. In other
I don't think
cases,
these people know what a
she stated that
sociopath
some
is.
of
Just
these
sounds
men
like a
have
word they
threatened
learned on a
outright
website and decided
violence
to use it
and
as an
arrived at the
insult.
girls' homes
No
unannounced,
sociopath
threatening
considers
to kill
others
them
before
and their
themselves.
families. Again, in most cases,
Yes.
this would be happening to underage girls, still living at home. In one extreme instance, a girl talked about how
Yeah,
a man
that definitely
called in a
is
mass
not what
shooting threat
orbiters
to her
are, but I
school,
feel like
something
that
she wasn't sure if
I
he
feel
would
like that
actually
term
follow
has
through on.
evolved with
The
the
FBI
Zoomers
had
to
been called in
mean
to check the
what it's
veracity of
meant
the threat,
here.
and all because she had done something to upset this man's idea of who she was. These were the people who
But I know what
Bianca
you
was spending
mean.
the
Orbiters
majority
are
of her
people who
time
hang out
talking
with
to
like
online.
successful
And these were the
people
who were
and like
making
try
her
to ride
feel
their
seen and
coattails.
loved, sending her gifts
basically.
and praise every time she so much as posted a picture of herself. She
In
had
hope
no idea
of
that
a
they were
crumb
grooming her.
of attention.
One of the people Bianca met on
be it
4chan
from
was
that
her
person or
ex-boyfriend, whose real
their
name has largely been kept
following.
out of the public. But for the sake of this video, we will call him Rob. Rob was 18 when he met
6,
Bianca on 4chan. At the
7.
time, she was just 15 years old. They began talking on a board meant for hookups, and after 2 weeks of talking and meeting up, she asked him to be her boyfriend. Rob, like Bianca, was dealing with a plethora of mental health issues, as well as substance abuse issues. According to Bianca's mother, the pair was toxic, and seemed to
hanging
feed
in
off the
there,
drama
AJ.
between them.
How
They were
you
on and off
doing?
for 2 years, constantly fighting and breaking up, then getting back together as if nothing had happened. On a number of occasions, Bianca ran away from home to be with
81,
Rob, with a total of 3 missing persons reports being filed before she turned 17, and each time she would be found with Rob. According to Rob, Bianca felt as if he were the only person who truly loved her, and that she was otherwise alone in the world. Because of that, Bianca would overlook some of his worst qualities, because she would rather be with him than be alone. Kim didn't like Rob for a variety of reasons. Not least was the fact that when Bianca broke up with him the first time, he had gone and posted a video of him and Bianca having sex online. The video was taken, once again, when Bianca was just 15. And was taken without her knowledge or
Holy
consent.
shit.
Upon finding this out, Kim and Bianca went to the police, as what he did not only constituted as revenge porn, but also child porn. Rob then
I didn't
told
know
Bianca
about
that
that
the charges,
either.
despite being accurate to what he had done, would ruin his life, and he was going to kill himself and leave a note blaming her. After hearing that, Bianca stopped cooperating with the police, and charges were ultimately dropped, with her stating that she no longer wanted to pursue legal action. Kim was furious, wanting to prosecute the adult man who was taking advantage of her daughter and shared child porn of her. But Bianca wouldn't budge, and after a couple of days, got back together with Rob. Trying once more to get her daughter help, Kim placed Bianca on a persons in need of supervision hold, which meant that Bianca had to wear an ankle monitor at all times and was placed under house arrest. Kim knew that it was only a matter of
Tanned
time
and
before
windswept,
Bianca
heck
tried to
yeah.
run away again, and she hoped that the ankle monitor would prove to be good enough of a deterrent for her. But it did little to stop Bianca, as she cut the monitor off and tried to run away to be with Rob again.
I definitely
After a
understand.
good
So
amount of
have a
back
good
and
one.
forth, Bianca was moved to St. Anne Institute, a mental health facility in Albany, New York. It was here that Bianca was able to make incredible strides in her mental health and well-being. In an Instagram
I've never
post
heard
for
it
Mother's
used that
Day,
way before,
Bianca
Quinn.
wrote from St. Anne's, "I couldn't be here last summer. I was supposed to spend a lot of time with my mother and my stepmother, and I'm sorry that I couldn't do that. So I photoshopped myself in pictures where I couldn't be there. You guys have always been there for me, and I know you do the most for me, even if I can't see it. When I was at my worst, you were here for me, even if not physically. You called me every day. You tried to see me as much as you could. A lot of the other kids didn't have that. They always told me how lucky I was to have you, and I didn't see that myself. But I've learned so much, and I appreciate you more now than I ever have. You gave me a card and you wrote me so much that you had to write 'Love Mom' off the page. LOL. I really cried while reading it, and I read it a lot. It meant a lot to me that you would express yourself like that, because I've had such a hard time expressing how grateful I am for you. Thank you, Kaylee, for the same. Even though you weren't related by blood, you've given me so much kindness and the motherhood times two. You and I have been through similar things. You can relate to me and understand my actions, and you've been through a lot. I hope that I can make you as happy as you make me. You're so important to me, and I'm glad that you're in my life. You've been such a wonderful mother to Maddie, and I'm glad I have you and all of your kids. When I'm feeling down, I think of how special I am to have you all. I hope I can make you both proud of me. I'm doing my best for both of you, because I love you too. Even when I'm off at college, I'll be with you all every day of my life, even when I transfer, LOL. With 8 months of not being home, we've grown stronger than ever as a family. I love you guys so much, and happy Mother's Day." When Bianca got back in February of 2019, her family could see a tremendous difference. She was in a better spot mentally and was flourishing. Now, with the drive to study and pursue psychology while at college, she began to reconnect with her friends, people who she had previously believed hated her because of her mental health, and it seemed she had nowhere to go but up. But all that changed when she met Brandon Clark. Before we talk about Brandon
did that say
Clark,
Jason
we first
Clark?
need to talk about his father, Jason. Because as
Okay,
it would turn
okay.
out, Brandon took after his father in an incredibly
The
disturbing
hair clips
way.
have you baffled?
Not much is known about Jason.
Okay, so
other
normally
than
it
he
would
is
be
Brandon's
stitch
father,
markers,
and
but
that
since I don't
after what
have
his
any
son
right
did,
now,
he was
like
quoted
with
as
me,
saying he believed
I'm
that he
using
raped
them
his
to
son
keep
Ray.
count of how many
However, in
stitches we've
2010,
made.
when Brandon would have been 12, Jason, believing that his wife was cheating on him, held her hostage for over 10 hours, at which point he beat her and held a butcher's knife up to her throat while screaming that he was going to kill her and then himself. The attack started out of nowhere, with Jason accusing his wife of sleeping with a mutual acquaintance while she was talking with her mother, who lived with them at the time. She laughed off his accusation, stating he was being ridiculous, and went back to talking to her mom, which only further angered him. He jumped on top of her and started beating her wildly. Her mother was horrified and ran to the phone to call 911. Jason followed her, and when she
Wasn't
picked
she
up
on
the
the
phone,
phone?
he tore it out of the wall. Somehow, she was able to escape Jason and run out of the home and to a neighbor's, where she was able to call for help. By that time, Jason had barricaded him and his wife in the home and had picked up a knife, intending on using it to kill her and then himself. When the police arrived on site, they recalled seeing him bash Michelle's head into a wall, causing her to be covered in her own blood. and had her call out to the police
Jesus
that she was
Christ.
being held hostage. He forced her to state multiple times that he was going to kill her and then himself, and that if anyone approached the home, she would die. After a couple of hours, Jason began to cry and apologize to Michelle, wrapping her up in a blanket and stating he didn't mean to hurt her as badly as he did. After 10 hours, he allowed her to leave, and he was arrested. Jason was then charged with felony assault, criminal
This
possession
is
of a
really
weapon,
sad. That sounds like
unlawful
bipolar.
imprisonment,
Well, I'm
aggravated
not a
criminal
professional,
contempt,
so don't
misdemeanor
like take that
menacing,
to mean
and
that's what it
obstructing
is. But
government
like,
administration. Worse still is that it's currently unknown
that's
if
really
Brandon
sad. It sounds
was in
like
the
really
home at the
severe
time and
bipolar
witnessed
to
any
me.
of this. Many who are familiar with the case hypothesize that he had
He's
been
been
in the
forbidden
house, or at the
street
very
moves.
least had
It's
witnessed
true.
his father doing this exact same thing before. With the standoff being 10 hours long, involving every member of his family, it is likely that even if Brandon weren't in the home at the start of the attack, he was privy to the media circus outside and witnessed the end. The parallels between what Jason did here and what Brandon would later go on to do raise many red flags and lead most who know about Jason's actions to theorize that Brandon was replicating his
okay,
father.
just 10 more.
Brandon Clark was a disturbing individual. While friends and acquaintances came forward to talk about their positive experiences with Bianca, the opposite was true for Brandon, as it seemed
41,
everyone in his life thought
42,
something was wrong with him, with a slight
43,
exception given for his parents.
44,
They both agreed that they raised him well, which was absolutely not the case. His father was arrested for assaulting his mother and holding her hostage. His mother was also arrested, and he was sent into foster care. And while Brandon appeared fine on the outside, coming off as a well-meaning but nerdy young man,
and
he became
50.
obsessed
Oh, no.
sexually with young girls. When he was 16, his friends stated that he was infatuated with lolicon, Japanese media that featured young girls as romantic and oftentimes sexual interests. He had read thousands of manga featuring sexual drawings of young girls, and when his friends found out, they were horrified. It was clear to them that Brandon was
I think
interested
something
in
is wrong with that
minors
guy.
from
I
the
think
material
maybe.
alone that they were confronting him about. Brandon tried to play it
Arrested
off
Development,
as being just a
perhaps?
preference in reading material and not something he would pursue in real life, until it was found out that he had been texting and grooming a 12-year-old at the same time, trying
Oh.
to get her to be his girlfriend and send him sexual images of herself.
Oh
After
my.
being confronted about his actions, Brandon responded to his friends saying, "Trust me, you're better off not being concerned about the shit I do or think of doing, because you won't like what you see." His friends stopped talking to him after that, and it seemed as if they never reported
Good.
his actions to any kind of authority.
Bad.
Brandon was a predator before meeting Bianca, seeking to groom and be with young women just like her. And through trial and error, he had learned how to come across as the perfect gentleman who only wanted what was best. He had skillfully created a mask that would allow him to gain access to the person he set his sights on. And unfortunately, that person was Bianca. Bianca and Brandon met through Instagram
So,
and became fast
quick
friends. He was
tip,
21 and
As
she had
I
just
pull these
turned
markers
17,
out, I'm
and to
going
him,
to be
she was
putting them
perfect.
on
She
this
was
end
slender
to
and
weigh it
looked young,
down.
and because of her sweet, trusting nature, he was drawn to her. He showered her with adoration and attention, something that she mistook as friendship. Given her years of posting on 4chan, he would comment on every post that she made, stating how beautiful she was and how lucky he was to have her in his life. If she posted to her Instagram story, he was in her DMs within seconds, and almost overnight, he had woven himself into the fabric of her life. Bianca was upfront with Brandon about her wants out of their relationship. She didn't feel anything more than platonic feelings towards him, and she often placated his compliments by reminding him that they were just friends, and she wasn't looking to start a relationship with anyone because she was going to be going to college in the fall. She was going to be starting a new chapter in her life, and a boyfriend didn't fit in that picture. They had hooked up a couple of times previously, but Bianca was clear. She saw him as a friend and nothing more. However, Brandon didn't care. He was dead set on her becoming his girlfriend, so much that he had already begun to refer to himself as her boyfriend around her family. Brandon had integrated himself into her life so effortlessly that he had
This
even
is
charmed her mother.
not
Upon meeting
turning
Brandon,
out.
Kim
Oh,
was
I
blown
forgot to
away
fucking-
by how open and honest he was about his life. He told her about his harsh upbringing and how difficult life had been for him, but stopped short of letting her know how obsessed he was with her daughter. After the nightmare that Bianca had gone
The only
through
answer
with
is to
Rob,
shut down
Brandon
Instagram.
seemed
Yo,
like a breath of
fucking
fresh air.
shut down
His actions
everything
were
Zuck
methodical
ever
and
fucking
pre-planned,
touches,
as he
TBH.
hoped that by getting close to Kim, she would encourage Bianca to be with him. However, unbeknownst to him, Kim did the
I forgot
opposite.
to get
She knew
the
her daughter
right size
didn't
hook.
want to be tied
I
down.
forgot
and
to
while
get
she
it.
trusted
I
Brandon
forgot.
and thought he was an upstanding person at the time,
I'm
she knew
so
that his
upset
feelings clearly superseded
in
Bianca's,
this moment.
and he wanted more than she was willing to give. She encouraged Bianca to be open and upfront with him and stop accepting gifts from him. as it was giving him the wrong idea. Kim told Bianca that she was unintentionally leading Brandon on, and it would be better if she stopped hanging out with him as much, at least until he found someone else to focus on romantically. But Bianca assured her mother they were just friends. He was okay with them not being together, and when Bianca asked her mother if it would be okay for her to go to her first concert by herself since coming back from St. Anne's, Kim was reassured by the fact that Brandon would be going with her, but there was no way for her to know what he had planned. Prior to the concert, Bianca had been speaking on Discord to a boy who she was interested in. While she wasn't seeking a relationship before going off to college, she thought this boy was cute and sweet, and wanted to get to know him a bit better. He was shy and a bit socially awkward, and she knew that he had never so much as been kissed, which she thought was cute. They had been speaking for about a week prior to the concert and planned to meet up while there. Bianca was drawn to how sincere and innocent he was and wanted to be his first kiss. Because Brandon would be driving to the concert, and because she wanted to be honest with him, she told him that she would be meeting up with someone else, someone who she was interested in. She asked him if he would be okay with that, or if it would be a better idea for her to just go by herself, and outwardly, Brandon seemed not to mind. He told her that he would be fine with it, seeing as they weren't together.
Starting over.
But that couldn't have been further from the truth. After his conversation with Bianca, he had begun Googling how to find and cut a carotid artery and how to incapacitate someone. He then put a knife, rope, and a large tarp in the backseat of his car and waited, knowing that the day of the concert, he would enact his plan. The day of the concert, Brandon had made a checklist on his phone of things he wanted to do that day, which included him changing his Instagram bio to display his date of death. That being that very day. And the quote, "Just know that I feel no pain now." He also posted a quote from the book Fight Club that states, "This is your life, and it ends 1 minute at a time." He then put his laptop, his computer's hard drive, a can of spray paint, and a lighter in the back of his car with a tarp and the knife. Brandon picked up Bianca from her house, and after saying goodbye to her mom and assuring her he would bring her back safely, the pair left to go to the concert. While on the way, Bianca was chatting with others on her Discord, both in her voice and text chat. She was in high spirits, excited to see one of her all-time favorite artists and talk to the cute guy who she was interested in, completely unaware of the horror Brandon had in store for her. During the concert,
I'm
Brandon
so
and
bummed
Bianca
out
had
listening
met
to
up
this right
with her
now.
Discord friend. According to Bianca's messages, the pair had kissed twice and held hands, which angered Brandon. Bianca knew he was pissed at her for the situation, but thought very little of it, seeing as they had already discussed what was going to happen. She was on cloud 9 and messaged her friend about how amazing the night had been. While driving home, Bianca fell asleep in the back seat of Brandon's car. While she was sleeping, he took this photo while driving and posted it to his Instagram story, which read, "Here comes hell. It's redemption, right?" He then drove to a dead-end road close to where Bianca had gone to high school, and while she was sleeping, got out of the car, went to the
fully
trunk, and pulled out a
agree.
knife, all while filming himself on his phone. He then got back
AJ,
into the car
I
and
feel
woke
like
her up,
quotes
proceeding
like that,
to ask
it's-
her about her kissing the other guy. Bianca apologized to him, stating that she didn't mean to upset him in any way, but then proceeded to make it clear that they weren't in a
Especially, like, a
relationship and doesn't
teenager.
see him that way. She also reminded him that they had already talked about this before, and her mind hadn't changed. According to the police who have seen the footage, Bianca made it clear they weren't together and they were never going to be together. Brandon then struck Bianca in the face, causing her to fall backwards, stunned and confused as to what had just happened because Brandon had never been violent towards her before. Bianca threatened to get out of the car and walk the rest of the way home, but before she could realize the gravity of the situation, Brandon had pulled out his knife and cut her throat. According to those who have seen the video, Bianca had no idea what was coming and didn't have a chance to fight back or defend herself. Brandon then turned the camera off, only to immediately start recording once more, recording her last breath before taking pictures of her body. He then logged on to his Discord and posted a photo of her dead body in his car, under which he wrote, "Sorry fuckers, you're going to have to find somebody else to orbit." He then posted those same photos to his Instagram with the caption, "I am so sorry, Bianca." At first, people didn't know what to make
Holy
of his posts.
shit.
The gore was alarming, but some thought it was just that, a terrible joke paired with a disturbing image from a movie meant to shock. Some of Bianca's friends saw the post and tried to reverse image search it, hoping it was a still from a movie or a photo shoot. And when asked where the image was from, Brandon responded, "From my fucking car, I fuck Bianca, dumbass." After which he told them to subscribe to PewDiePie, which was a meme at the time, referencing the subscriber race between PewDiePie and T-Series. It had also previously been said by another person who had live streamed a violent attack. Once people realized what they were looking at and that he wasn't joking, the cops were called. However, they had
That's
no
so
idea as to
crazy.
where Brandon was. The
Ugh.
story began to pick up steam online, and quickly. Bianca's name started to
What the
trend,
fuck,
with
Brandon?
people
Yeah.
posting her dead body onto Twitter and other social medias. Hashtag RIP Bianca was filled with images of her dead body, with even more people not understanding what was going on and why they were seeing it. News began to spread like wildfire of a young girl who had been killed, and various false reports had been made. Some sites claimed that Brandon was her boyfriend. Others said that he was an online stalker, and various sites tried to blame Bianca herself for the attack, saying
Yeah,
she was
that's
leading him on
fucking
and deserved
being
it.
a girl.
None of the news at the time actually had a grasp as to
gross.
what had happened, and they would continue to spread false information for weeks after. It wasn't until 7:30 a.m. when Brandon himself called 911,
People using
letting
his
them
handle
know
like that is
he was
twisted.
on Post
Yeah,
Street, which
he's
was a
a
dead-end
racist,
road
though.
in Utica. He joked to the 911 operator that he had just committed a murder-suicide and had to go, because he had to do the suicide part. It's important to note that he was laughing and joking during this time, which we know because he was still filming himself. Despite saying he wanted to die, it would appear that wasn't quite the case. Instead of killing himself, he started a small fire by the car, burning his laptop and hard drive, most likely because it contained further evidence of him planning the murder and his pedophilic obsession with young girls. He also had spray painted the words, "May you never forget me," on the ground, showcasing how he truly wanted to gain fame and notoriety. He then began to live stream to his Instagram followers while lying on a green tarp that he had placed over Bianca's body. News of what he had done had already broken.
God damn
so as he
it.
laid on the tarp covering Bianca's body, thousands of people watched and recorded,
Why is
wondering
it
what he would
curling
do
so
next.
bad?
It wasn't until the police arrived on scene that Clark finally tried to kill himself. He put a knife to his throat and tried to cut, but stopped, seemingly after he realized how much it would hurt. After his pathetic attempt to injure himself, he took a selfie showing his wounded throat, captioning it "Ashes to Ashes," and posted it to his Instagram story. The officers on the scene had no idea what they were walking into, how many weapons he had, or what he had planned on doing, so they stayed a respectable distance
So
away.
kind of want to
something
just forget
Brandon
this
clearly
guy?
hadn't
Yeah, a
thought
little
of.
bit.
He had, it seemed, hoped they would immediately disarm him while he tried to injure himself, but instead they just watched as he did so, confused. After Brandon posted the photo, the police called out to him, asking him where Bianca was. He responded, "Where the fuck do you think she is?" before pointing to the small clump of dark hair sticking out of the tarp.
That's so sad.
After
Fuck.
Brandon was treated for his failed attempt to cut his own throat, he was released into police custody, where they tried to interrogate him about what had happened. But Brandon was far too interested in how the news media was covering the killing and how the world at large was reacting. He had done this to be famous, and it worked. According to various articles, Brandon had killed Bianca in order to showcase that he wasn't another pushover beta male orbiter, and that he wasn't like other guys who got rejected. He wanted to show that he was strong and that he took what he wanted.
I may be
And it
breathing
seemed that
too hard on the
Brandon
wool,
had
do you
done
think?
just that. But whatever joy Brandon got from killing Bianca and posting her body to Instagram was short-lived, though, as when he appeared in court, he was haggard
No
and
offense,
looked
but we're
worse for
feeding
wear.
into it
He
in a
had done
big
this to
way.
become famous, to send the message that he wasn't the kind of guy who would be pushed around and rejected by women. But by the time he appeared in court, most news articles had characterized him as just that, a stupid, pedophilic man.
The only reason
who
that
couldn't
I'm
be
like
told
okay
no,
with this
despite
is because
purposely
it's
bringing a
giving
murder
me
weapon,
what
a
I
tarp,
want,
and
which
other
is to
items
watch
used in the
true
murder,
crime,
posting
and
images of
giving
her dead
him
body
what
and
he
confessing
wants
to being the one who killed her via
doesn't
live
kill
stream.
her more.
Clark initially
You know what
pleaded
I
not
mean?
guilty to the charge of second-degree
It's
murder
sad.
when he
It's
went
very
to court,
sad,
July
and
29th
Bianca
of
deserves to be
2019.
known
He
and
began
heard
to write
of.
letters
Like
from
her
prison
story,
to various
she
people
deserves
in
to have
news
her
media,
story
stating
told.
that he had blacked
Right?
out during the
Like,
murder and simply didn't remember what had happened, that he lost control and couldn't recall simple details until he came to the police interrogation. It was clear that he was going to try and plead insanity, or at the very least, diminished capacity. However, once he was notified
I'm
that the
open
police had
to
been able to recover
criticisms of
his
that
internet search
philosophy,
history,
though,
that
like
clearly showed
100%.
how far in advance he had planned to murder Bianca.
In
he
questions of
changed his
ethics,
plea
I'm
to
always
guilty.
open
On
for
March
debate.
16th, 2021,
Except for, like,
almost 2
Nazi,
years
good
after
or
her
bad.
death,
You know
Brandon
what I
was
mean?
sentenced to 25 years to life. Unfortunately, this is not where this case ends, because in July of 2021, Bianca's family sued the Oneida County District Attorney's Office for distribution of child pornography. According to the lawsuit, the Devons had learned from a producer of a documentary about Bianca that they had been sent footage of Bianca's murder, as well as videos of her having sex that was used as evidence in the trial. They were also given access to nude photos of Bianca, which all constituted child pornography.
CB,
Given that Bianca
thank you so
had died
much.
before she was able to
I
turn
appreciate
18,
you.
these images and videos were also allegedly sent to a
It's a lot
YouTuber
of
who had been
months. I
covering the
appreciate
case,
you
who
so
was one of the people that Brandon had been corresponding with. And while the Freedom of Information Act does allow for evidence to be shared, the Oneida County District Attorney's Office had no right to distribute the video of her death
How
or
are you?
images of her underage naked body. The trial is still ongoing, but shows
Wait,
how even in
sorry.
death, Bianca
1,
is still being
2,
victimized.
3,
What
4,
followed
5,
Bianca's
6,
tragic
7.
murder was nothing less than a mess. Multiple different communities mischaracterized what had happened in order to suit their own narrative and agenda, and very few people actually know what happened. Some sites reported that Bianca was a mentally unwell man-eater who abused Brandon to the point of madness and deserved her death. Her image was posted on incel forums and mocked. Others tried to use the fact that Bianca had met Clark online as a way to discuss the dangers of meeting people online. And still, more tried to state that this was another incel murder, despite the fact that Clark does not qualify as an incel in the slightest. Ironically, he had killed to try and circumvent this title, making the fact that it backfired karmic. Bianca was a lovely person who spent her youth fighting her demons and had finally come out the other side. She had gotten the help she needed and was set to begin college and learn how she could better help people like herself. She was a person who was incredibly loved and had just begun to love herself. But that opportunity was taken away from her for no reason. If you have made it to this portion of the video, I would ask you to go and sign the change.org petition linked in the description. Bianca's death and images of her body were plastered online. If you Google any member of the family, images of her dead body appear. Kim and her family are doing what they can to make companies like Google and Facebook more responsible when it comes to removing those images by creating Bianca's Law. For a more detailed breakdown of the law and what they are hoping to accomplish, the petition will be linked below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you even more to the subscriber who suggested it. I once again urge you not to Google anything about this case unless you are mentally prepared, but otherwise, I hope you all have a good day, and remember to stay safe.
All I'm saying is it sounds like Brandon watched Grease one too many times. Like jokes aside, legit, this dude is so fucking sexually entitled, which is like one of the most fucking dangerous things that a person can be. It is truly upsetting. It's truly upsetting. Okay, so the next one that I wanted to watch was this one.
Imagine waking up one day and having the entire
so
world
sorry.
at your
Oh my God,
fingertips.
please.
Everyone.
All right. Uno momento. All of my loves. Yeah, it's time for ads here. If everybody doesn't mind just hanging tight, I'll be right back, and then we can go ahead and start the next video. Please let me know. I don't know what I was trying to say. Please let me know your favorite ice cream flavor. BRB. Hello, sorry. It me. Thoughts and opinions on Klondike bars? I love them. I think they're very good. I especially love the special ones with like bits of Heath Bar or Reese's or whatever. I think they're all really good. Sorry, I very needed some water. I'm good to go back. Are you guys good to go back? Can we dive back in? Can I get 4 readies in chat, please? You really like ICP, hey? Hell yeah. All right. Hey, Bardic Muse, how's it going? All right, we're hopping back in here. I'll start this over from second 0.
Imagine waking up one day and having the entire world at your fingertips. Everyone you encounter knows you and loves you. Your closest friends are also your colleagues, employed only to make sure that you have everything that you could ever want. They are paid to keep you happy and know that their lives revolve entirely around you. You are the center of their universe, in the universe of thousands of people you've never even met. The biggest and most expensive brands in the world are
Sick.
begging you to work with them and
Just got it
paying
from
you
an app,
millions to
hell
post
yeah.
one photo in their apparel. You get fan mail every day from people begging you to sleep with them, telling you they'd do anything for you, and they mean it. And all because you can sing. That's what it's like being a celebrity. Doors open up to you that would normally be closed for other people. People treat you like a god, just because you can do something slightly better than they can. But what would you do if you knew that you could do anything? What kind of person would you be? If you knew that you could commit any crime, hurt anyone, destroy any life, and not face the repercussions, would you do it? Just because you could? Or would you keep your morals and stay grounded in reality? We all like to think we would stay the same and not let the fame get to our heads. But how true is that? With the amount of stories like the one we are going to be going over today, the odds aren't in your favor. Welcome back to Dreading. Today we are going to talk about a man who, after achieving a level of
I've
fame
never
that most
heard
of
of
us
this
will never
person,
know,
so
went
it
on
must
to
not
use
have
that
been
fame
that
to abuse
famous.
countless women and children, sometimes with their
Just
parents'
saying.
consent and encouragement,
Aw,
all because no
gross.
one wanted to tell him no. Today we will be talking about Ian Watkins. Upon researching Ian's early life, it is striking how absolutely ordinary it is. His life wasn't one of hardship or tragedy, he wasn't deeply abused or tormented growing up. In fact, it was quite the opposite. So much so that there are very few interviews or articles that mention his youth at all, even from before his crimes. Ian was born into an incredibly loving family, with a mother who adored him. His biological father, Ronald D.J. Watkins, passed away early in Ian's life. However, the loss of his father did little to damper Ian's upbringing. His mother met and married John Davies, a Baptist minister, who would raise Ian as his own. Their lives were comfortable, and Ian never knew struggle that he or anyone in his life attested to. He excelled in school, becoming an honor student and getting some of the highest marks in his class. He was also incredibly popular, specifically with women. His friend and bandmate, Mike Lewis, would go on to say how Ian was always surrounded by a posse of young girls, all vying for his affections, and how Ian seemed to know just what to say to get them wrapped around his fingers, something he witnessed from when they were young until he was charged with his crimes. Throughout his high school years, Ian became obsessed with the idea of becoming a famous musician. He loved rock, specifically the American punk rock scene. He would talk to his friends about the bands
Who is
he was
Ian
interested in,
Watkins?
and how one day he too would be in a band that was big enough to break America and the
Oh,
world.
hold on, I will pause.
His first attempt at this was in 1991, when he was 14. He and Lewis made a thrash metal band called Aftermath. Ian
Aftermath. I've never heard of Aftermath. A common theme in the becomes mega famous and is instantly a monster is had an upbringing without struggle. Or an upgrading without struggle. I'm wondering if you mistyped that or if you meant that. I'm down to discuss. I just am unsure because either could be true, right? Upbringing, okay. Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I think that people that grow up struggling tend to treat people better because, like, it feels like where they came from or whatever, right? People that struggle are just more empathetic. I know some people who maybe not famous, but they made it in a way and they had humble upbringings and they've stayed good people. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that that is just the way that it tends to go. I think that you're absolutely right, Sperry. I agree with this 1,000,000%. Like this is something that I fully like. You notice it in true crime, even like when. Like, it's either people that have suffered so badly that it damaged them psychologically, or people who never had to worry about a single fucking thing. I agree, Sperry. I think you're right. I think that's one of, if not the very first time that I've ever disagreed with Mr. Dreading. Okay, I'm going to unpause. But like, I think you're just absolutely
all their time coming up with their own songs in a shed in his backyard, provided by his loving stepfather. But no one in the band, save for Ian, seemed dedicated to making it big. So after 2 years together, in 2 live shows, they broke up. But Ian didn't let the breakup deter his dreams. He then formed another band, this time with another future bandmate, Lee Gaze, called Fleshbind. The band began to get more recognition and seemed to be on the verge of blowing up.
I feel like I've heard the name Ian Watkins the more that I think about it.
Leaving them in a bind. According to Ian and Lee,
is
the
he
band
like
went a bit weird, with a fair amount of infighting and disagreements. After a couple of weeks, they decided to leave Fleshbind together in order to pursue their own dreams. It was then when Ian, Lee, and Mike created the band Lost Prophets, originally spelled with 2 Z's. Ian was also in another band, Public Disturbance,
and
but
Public
quickly left when
Disturbance,
he realized the potential that Lost Prophets had. They started playing shows across all of Wales, and from there they grew to the point where they could tour the entire UK.
This is sounding very familiar. I've never listened to music by these people, by the way.
They began to gain some recognition, with multiple music-related publishers reviewing them positively and driving more attention to their live shows. In the span of 2 years, the band had gained a substantial amount of fans, and after a chance encounter with a record executive, they were signed to an independent label, Visible Noise. 2 weeks after being signed, the band put out their first album, The Fake Sound of Progress. Despite this album being recorded in 2 weeks for only $4,000, it did excessively well and led to Lost Prophets playing with huge bands in the punk underground scene. They were able to open for Deftones, Pitch Shifter, and Linkin Park, which established them even further. Their name began to climb to the top of festival lineups,
Linkin Park
and the shift
is not
was intense. 4 years after putting out The Fake Sound of Progress, Lost Prophets put out their second album, Start Something. This album was even more successful than the first, hitting number 4 on the UK album charts and selling over 400,000 copies. The album was also massively successful in the US, a market that was hard for most UK acts to break. They followed that album up with The Liberation Transmission in 2005, The Betrayed in 2007, and Weapons in 2011. Their online presence was also massive, with the band's MySpace growing rapidly. At this time, Ian created the phrase that is still used today, megalols, which appeared on their merch. However, during the last 3 album cycles, Ian's life had taken a turn, where he had always boasted about being straight edge and maintaining a purely sober lifestyle. Over the last 7 years of touring and making music, he had seemingly abandoned all of his morals, choosing instead to make it a point to use his fame to hurt others and to abuse as many people as he possibly could.
Interesting.
Ian made it a very big point to be straight edge, condemning the use of drugs and drinking, because he felt it would hinder his ability to perform. He wanted to do the best job he could, and he would often say that he needed to be at peak performance to do so. However, after they put out their second album, Start Something, that all changed. His bandmates have been fairly quiet about their experiences with Ian since his conviction, but they all did claim that after their second album, he began using hard drugs, like cocaine and crystal meth. In an interview with The Perp Online, Stuart Richardson, the band's bassist, went so far as to describe how little the band could stand Ian when he was using, and how they had to distance themselves from him. It is clear to see that he does this in order to deny culpability that he or his bandmates knew what was happening, but nonetheless is important to notate. He described how Ian would have his own dressing room, his own areas, away from the band, so it wasn't often that they would have to engage with him. He was also quoted as saying, "It was just getting to the point where none of us could stand being in the room with him. From day one, he always rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, but I personally thought it was my problem, not his problem. I was like, am I just jealous of this guy or something? It wasn't because I thought he was what he was. There was no inkling of that, but he was just so fucking arrogant. But at the same time, I thought he was just kind of playing the part, and he kind of was as well. So I always felt a little fucking weird about it all. But at the same time, I thought he was just being a rock star. His brand of rock star was the more douchey kind of rock star. But still, rock stars are kind of douchey sometimes. It's all part of the fucking circus. Maybe in today's climate, the douchey rock star stereotype would never fucking fly, but it did in 2000, and there you fucking go. Unlike what we know now, it doesn't really reflect what we knew in 2000. We learn things as we grow as a society.
We're working on 33 now.
Fucking Copernicus, thanks. Every member of the band maintains that the only illegal activity they witnessed was Ian's drug use, something that they actively tried to put a stop to. According to each member, they had multiple interventions and pushed Ian to get himself straightened out because they felt like if he didn't, he was going to overdose and probably die. They stressed what a poor job he was doing, citing times where he was on stage and unable to move or sing the correct words, or times where he just wouldn't show up at all, just because he had gone on a bender. Each time they would have an intervention and take a break from the band, they would report that Ian would get better. He would check himself into some rehab program and be on the straight and narrow. But the moment they would start touring and start an album cycle, Ian would once again fall off the wagon and revert to his old, drug-addled ways. In that same article, Stewart is quoted as saying, "He checked into rehab. He was going to the gym. He was like sorting himself out. I saw him 2 months later at a show and he was fucking on it. Super, super nice. Super fucking clear-eyed and clear skin and everything. We went on Warped Tour and everyone was like, dude, your band is crushing it right now. You are fucking killing it." And one night, Ian was like, "I'm gonna go away for an hour. I'll be back." We were trying to keep an eye on him to make sure he wasn't gonna get himself in a position where he would use drugs or, you know what I mean. He was like, "I'm gonna go do something with a friend of ours we knew." And we were like, sure, because we knew she'd look after him. An hour later, we see her and we're like, "Hey, where's Ian?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" And we were like, oh God. So he ended up going off with some girl doing a fucking ton of drugs. The band threatened to kick him out multiple times over, but notably never did, because they felt that the band without Ian wouldn't work. And the majority of their fans were mainly there for him.
Very, very hard to replace a front man and get away with it. Not to say that you can't. It's happened, but
the things he was doing, just deciding that they would distance themselves from him.
What's the new project? We're doing a vest. It's a paid vest, so I can't share the pattern with you, but I am good to sell it, so
because sometime after 2004, Ian started to groom and assault his underage fans.
This is the lady that runs the Jocko Street team. You run a Spoo Street team?
I like this music, and I'm very scared that I'm going to get DMCA'd. I'm very scared that this is music I'm not allowed to use.
According to his ex-bandmates,
I'm also very afraid that it's this asshole's music.
He started using drugs simply because.
See you later, Hacksmat. By the way, sorry if I didn't say goodbye.
Prior to that, he had always had relationships, and they had never really seen him with anyone who looked younger than 18, in their opinion. The veracity of these statements is cloudy at best, seeing as fans of the band had always been younger, with one witness who described interviewing them multiple times and multiple tours described a show as being filled with school-aged children, with a lot of visibly young female fans being allowed backstage around the entire band. Regardless of when it started, Ian began to use fans of Lost Prophets for his own sexual gratification, bringing home a different one every night, with them getting progressively younger and younger. He seemed to relish in how they would glorify him and treat him as if he were a god. Ian delighted in seeing how far they would let him go, and the things they would let him do because of who he was. In one instance, in March of 2007, Ian met up with a 16-year-old fan. After a brief conversation, Ian found out that this girl was a virgin, and he was excited to take her virginity. He had her dressed in a schoolgirl uniform and recorded him having sex with her without her knowledge, asking her throughout if she enjoyed being his underage, quote-unquote, slut. After he finished, he then urinated on her face and told her to drink it. A former music reviewer who had interviewed Watkins throughout his career spoke how apparent his attraction to minors was, simply by how he interacted with his fans after the shows. She described going backstage at one of their concerts and seeing young girls no older than 13 dressed provocatively in order to gain his attention, and how these young girls were desperate for him to notice them, stating they would do anything he wanted. In one instance, she recalled a group of young girls offering to worship Satan if he so much as asked. In an interview with Wales Online, she also said this: "I went onto fan forums and girls would say, 'I wish I was younger, he would like me more. He would like me more, and I wish I could give him anything he wanted.' They were about 16. People in the industry knew, they just didn't care. They knew this was an issue and they simply did nothing about it." Ian would brag to people about the young girls he would sleep with, telling escorts he had hired, as well as girlfriends, that he had slept with a 14-year-old while on tour once, then claiming it was a joke. And he had forced a 12-year-old to do cocaine before he had sex with her, again telling them that it had been a joke when they reacted negatively. He would also force his girlfriends to engage in role play and fantasy scenarios where they would talk about having children together and assaulting their children before killing them. Most of these events would happen after he successfully drugged the other party, which usually meant they wouldn't recall having such conversations. He also began filming all of his sexual encounters, most of the time without the other party's knowledge, as he found it fun to watch back and delighted in having filmed without the other's consent. This included times where he would be with minors, including babies, which is how we know about his interaction with a 16-year-old in March of 2007. While Ian's bandmates and the various people who were around him during that time maintained they had no idea and could not have known, that could obviously not have been the case, with how very blatant he was with his attraction to children, and how he would talk about it in front of the band and others. In the aforementioned fan forums, from years before he was arrested or publicly accused of these crimes, there were multiple posts talking about his attraction to minors. Again, these posts were made years before he was brought to trial and before any of these stories were publicly confirmed, meaning that his predilection was not a secret, especially not to the people surrounding the band. Here are some of the only remaining posts about his attraction to minors as recorded by Wales Online. Quote, "It's all true about him molesting kids. This poor excuse for a man disgusts me now. I used to know him and I'm ashamed to say, love him, till I found out the truth about him. If more of us came forward, we'd get this pedo where he belongs, away from kids for good. He used to frighten me with his talk about what he wants to do to babies, not just baby girls, baby boys too. I wish I'd done something when I had the chance.
Okay,
boys
don't
or
say
girls,
that like it's bad to be
pays
gay.
his sluts to let him fuck their kids. He even takes pics and vids of these kids. The stuff about him messing with kids is true too. Anyone he
I really
goes
hate it
with
when
who
people
has kids,
lump the
he's either done stuff to them
LGBTQ
or tried
community
to.
in with,
It happened to a friend,
like,
but he scared her into not doing anything about it because of the other illegal
pedophiles.
things
It's so
they've done
fucked
together.
up.
Unfortunately, I concur. I know at least
See you
one
later,
snake
Absolute
who was
Goblin.
so
I can
obsessed with
understand.
Ian, she
This is-
actually
this is a
gave
heavy one.
him her young daughter. Use your imagination for the rest of the disgusting details. Ian is a kitty fiddler. He has child porn from Russia on his computer and on flash drives. Fact. Lots of girls and women who have sense don't want anything to do with him. The guy is a loser. Everyone has had a lucky escape from him. He's evil, just nasty, twisted, sick, and evil. Manipulative game player who spreads lies about everyone else to disguise the fact that he is the lying, sick, psychopathic
I really
fuck
need to
who
get
needs
fucking
locking up.
glasses.
Unfortunately, all the statements about mothers pimping their children out to Ian were true and were confirmed to have happened in 2 cases at the very least. But with the amount of touring Ian did across the globe and the amount of women who were utterly devoted to him, the real number of victims and people affected is most likely far greater than we expect. One of his ex-girlfriends, Joanna Magic, was dating Ian during this time and also found the amount of young girls that were consistently around the band to be strange. But she also thought it was more or less normal for the scene he was in. Before she had met Ian, she had been a call girl and was used to backstage situations. She never personally witnessed anything that she deemed inappropriate, as when she was around, those actions were kept at a minimum, but she still felt like the amount of underage girls that were consistently present was a bit alarming. Ian and her dated each other on and off from 2006 till 2008, when she broke up with him after he told her that he had previously had sex with multiple underage girls. Joanna was horrified by this confession and went to the police that same night, telling them what he had told her. They interviewed her and told her they would be investigating her claims. However, privately, they closed the case, feeling that she was either a jealous fan or a petty ex, trying to get revenge for him scorning her. They ignored her claims outright and thought a case was opened. It was shut without investigation that same night.
This
She
does
told
look
Ian that she had gone to
infinitely
the
better
police
than it
and
did when I
informed
chained
them
it.
of
I'm
what he had
happy
told
about
her,
that.
which he found to be funny, because nothing came of this initial report on him. Ian seemed to become more confident in the fact that he would
Okay,
be able to
60.
continue to get away with abusing children as long as he wanted. The fact that the cops had so brazenly shut the case, sans investigation, made him
70.
all the more confident in his ability to get away with abusing others. And he was right, because it would be years before they actually looked into what he was doing, even after provided with evidence.
Why did I
A
say
year after the
70? That's
report,
not true.
Joanna and
61,
Ian met up
62.
again and would start having sex once more. At this point, Joanna was under the impression that the cops had done an investigation into Ian and they found nothing. She thought that she had been wrong, because obviously if the cops had been looking into it, he would have been arrested. Both Joanna and Ian had been using cocaine and other assorted drugs whilst together, and she thought that it was possible that Ian had just said he had had relations with children because of the drugs, or it had been an off-color joke that he had made that she took too seriously. Because of that, she apologized to him and stated that she had been way off base by reporting him to the police, and he had forgiven her, finding her report to be funny. 2 weeks after reconnecting, Ian showed her a video of a child being sexually abused, as well as photos of a separate child being assaulted. It was only then when she realized that she hadn't been wrong. Ian was actually a pedophile, and she had been right on reporting him when she had. The material he presented to her caused her to get ill, and she immediately went to the police once more, this time with her computer and her phone. She reported him as a pedophile and explained that he had sent her real images and videos of children being abused, but the cops refused to so much as examine her devices. They turned her away, stating once again she was an obsessed fan or a stalker and was determined to hurt his reputation. She then tried to get in contact with Ian's mother, Elaine Davies. She wrote to her, letting her know about her son's actions, the
Cops,
things he had
ladies and
sent her,
gentlemen.
and the things he was currently doing while on tour. Elaine brushed off the letter, and Joanna was
Have you guys
accused of
noticed that in
harassment
all
once again.
of these
She was
fucking
then
stories,
taken in
the
by
cops
police
just
for questioning.
drop the
Oddly
ball
enough,
and
they thought
drop
her
the ball
claiming he
and
was a
drop the
pedophile
ball
was more
over and
worthy
over
of
again?
condemnation
Yeah,
and
it's because they're not
investigation
here to
than him
protect
being one.
and to
She
serve
brought up
you.
once more
They're here
that
to
Ian had
protect
sent
and
her pornographic
serve
images of children and
Zuck.
begged them to look at her devices and evidence, which they of course refused to do. Instead, they told her she needed to stop contacting Ian and his family because they could press
They're
charges.
here to protect
But that didn't
and
happen.
serve
At that point,
this
Joanna was
Ian
well aware of what
freak.
Ian was doing and knew he wouldn't stop. All the times he had told her about how he could get girls to do whatever he wanted,
Sounds
how
like
people
cops suck
worshipped
and we
him
shouldn't
and
trust
would
them.
give them
Ding,
their
ding, ding,
children
ding,
if
ding,
he
ding, ding,
asked.
ding.
She realized that he wasn't just doing things he was saying because he was high. Those were real things he had done and would continue to do, and she felt like she was the only person who could stop him, seeing as the cops didn't care. So she decided that she would do the work that the cops were refusing to do, and go out of her way to get undeniable proof. She knew if she didn't do it, he would hurt more kids, and she couldn't live with herself if that happened. In 2011, her and Ian began talking again, and he once again tried to share inappropriate material of children being assaulted to her, this time by him. Instead of reacting with disgust and contempt as she had before, Joanna went along with it, saying she was intrigued. She did so to gain his trust, to get him to reveal more of what he had done to her, and so she could get more
Hacks, Matt.
evidence to
I'm so
stop him
sorry I
from
missed your
doing this to
hydrate.
anyone else. He
I was
began to
using a
send her
different
more
chat
and more
thing and
material,
I did
and
not
she
realize
archived
that it wasn't
After a short while,
wasn't showing
she
me the
sent an
thingy.
email to the Association of Chief Police Officers talking about what Ian was doing, specifically noting that he was raping one particular child on a very regular basis, with his mother's approval and help. In the email, she stated, "I've gained his trust by agreeing to a lot of disgusting things to get whatever is needed to bring him to justice. However, nothing was done at this time either." And she was once again going to be brushed off by the police. It's unclear if the email was ever read at all. Joanna didn't stop there. She knew the identity of one of the children whose mother was letting Ian abuse them, so she contacted the father in February of 2012, with the hopes that he could stop the abuse himself. A month later, she reached out once more to the South Wales police, this time regarding a Skype conversation she had with Watkins, where he once again stated his proclivity to assaulting children and how often he would do so, and like every time before, she was brushed aside by the police. It wasn't until August of that year, 6 months later, that the police finally took action, raiding the Watkins home and taking all of his electronic devices, including his laptop, the password of which was, quote-unquote, I fuck kids,
Oh
with
my
a Z.
God.
Thousands of images of porn were found, including videos and images featuring children, babies, and animals. Some of these materials were made by Ian, others were not. 2 women, whose identities have remained sealed to protect the victims,
I feel
were also
nauseated.
charged alongside him for taking part in the assault and rape of their own children at his behest. They too appeared on these films and videos, and willingly took part in these assaults. Despite the charges against him, Ian maintained that he was innocent, and that everything was a misunderstanding publicly, telling his mother and his stepfather that he would be fighting the charges as much as possible. He put out statements declaring his innocence and saying that he would get his day in court. His mother and stepfather stood by him, and his bandmates made no comment.
All right, see you later,
However,
Leslie.
when the day
This is
arrived,
so much-
Ian immediately
yeah.
pled guilty to the charges against him, admitting to what he had done.
I feel sick.
What follows
I
is the
actually
sentencing
feel a
report
little
from the
sick.
case. For ease of understanding, when we refer to people as B and P, those are 2 women who assisted Ian in his crimes. Victims in this report go by 2 initials, as to maintain their anonymity, but everyone else is named in full. There are parts of this report that have been redacted for being too graphic, and we will not be linking to the full report, although it is available online for the public's consumption. Those who have appeared in these courts at the bar or on the bench over many years see and hear a large number of horrific cases. This case, however, breaks new ground. Any decent person looking at and listening to the material here will experience shock, revulsion, anger, and incredulity. What you 3 did plumbed new depths of depravity. You, Watkins, achieved fame and success as a lead singer of Lost Prophets. You had many fawning fans. These fans gave you power. You knew you could use that power to induce young female fans to help satisfy your apparently insatiable lust and take part in the sexual abuse of their young children. Away from the highlights of your public performances lay a dark and sinister side. What is the background? Count 18 dates back to March 2007. You met TT after a Lost Prophets concert when she was a 16-year-old virgin.
Too graphic
The
to share on a
prospect of
true
taking her
crime show,
virginity excited
where
you.
we've
got her to
already
dress
talked
in a
about
schoolgirl's
how
outfit, and you videoed her and you having oral, vaginal, and anal sex. You asked
he
her whether
has
she
had
enjoyed
sex
being
with
your underage
actual
slut. At the end,
babies.
you urinated on her
Like,
face
ugh.
and told her to drink it. That gives some insight into your attitude to young females at that time, over 5 years before the counts relating to B and P. Count 19 dates back to August 2008. The girl KJ was another fan aged 16.
That
You
the
videoed
mothers
her
would
having
give
oral sex
them
with you.
to
She used to be
him.
seen snorting white
Blows
powder,
my
which you told her was
fucking
cocaine.
mind.
The taking of drugs linked with your sexual activities is a recurring theme. Count 31 relates to about 90 indecent photos of children. They include 45 at level 4 and 2 at level 5. The age range of the children is from 2 to 14 years. Count 32 involves images and videos of extreme pornography. There are 22 images of bestiality, including oral and vaginal sex with dogs. Watkins and B. You, B, were only 19 when you met Watkins in late 2011. The communications between the 2 of you in March and April 2012 are seriously disturbing. That you were manipulated by Watkins may be obvious, but you were a mother, your infant
See
was
you
only
later,
10
Sleep
months
Ninja.
old.
Yeah,
A
this
mother
one's rough.
naturally loves, protects, shields, nurtures, and cherishes. Your infant would have trusted you implicitly. You totally betrayed that trust. So what did you do? You had detailed discussions with Watkins about the sexual acts to which the 2 of you were going to subject your infant. You told the police you met up with Watkins at the Copthorne Hotel in Cardiff. On the 21st of March, Watkins says, "Come down this weekend and we can fuck him up again." You text back saying, "Tell me if you want to get your dick in our boy." You had previously referred to getting your boy high on ice, i.e. methamphetamine. This is what led you up to the session at the K West Hotel in London on the night of the 2nd and 3rd of April, recorded on the video. What did you do? You presented your baby to him so he could try to rape him. You can be heard and seen encouraging him. Could there be a greater betrayal? And then what did you do? The planning and graphic detail are bad enough. The videoing of what you were both doing is an
This is
aggravating
worse
factor.
than the
The
Blackstone
enjoyment from
House
what
of
you can be
Horrors.
seen
This
to
is
derive
worse
from what you were doing
by
is
a
both
lot.
sickening and incomprehensible. What happened after this? On the 24th of May, you send Watkins a message saying the boy is ready to be abused. On the 2nd of August, his message is, quote, "To be honest though, I think we have gone easy on him so far. Time to teach him and make him learn to love it." The evidence indicates that you met at the Maldron Hotel in Cardiff. Then on the 9th of November, you sent Watkins a photo of you licking your son's penis. Counts 4 to 7 relate to this. In all,
Oh my
it is a
God.
dreadful catalog of abuse of a previously innocent boy to satisfy your own interest and lust. Watkins and P. You, P, were a little older than B. You are now 24. Your communications with Watkins start in August 2012. It is not long before the communication turned to child sex abuse. There was talk of moving in together. Watkins said, "If you belong to me, so does your baby." You responded, "Understandable. A mother-daughter slave duo worshiping you." Watkins said, "That's all she will know, a life of filth." P said, "The good thing about babies is put anything near their mouths and they start sucking on it."
Oh,
She
God.
went on to talk about both her and her baby sharing Watkins' penis with their tongues. The subsequent communications planning even more depraved activities with this little girl, including forcing her to engage in sex with animals and how to take drugs, defy belief. This P was your own flesh and blood that you were talking about. Watkins, you referred to the little girl as, quote, "my little fuck toy," unquote, and that sums up how you regarded her. Not as a human being, but simply as a sexual object there for your pleasure. You, Watkins, then said that you could not wait to get mother and daughter taking crack cocaine. You spoke of whoring her out to fat old men who would pay thousands. You went on, quote, "She needs to know mommy and daddy don't love her, and she is just there to make us come," unquote. You spoke
Oh
of
my
torturing her
God.
for fun. Count 11 to 13 relate to the taking of photos by P.
It
of
gets
little
more
girls
graphic
genitalia
than
and
this.
sending them to you, Watkins.
Okay, so real quick, vote yay if we should do something else. I'm taking control here. We're doing something else. If you guys want to watch the rest of this one, you can do it. I don't think that we should watch the rest of this on the channel. Who's Phil Spector? We're gonna do him.
Everyone at some point in their lives has been insecure. Insecurity is an outstandingly natural and normal feeling, but its impact can be
Woof.
powerful. For most, their insecurities
If
manifest
it's too much for
in how they
Doxy, then
present
Twitch will
themselves to
likely
the
have a
world,
fit.
whether that be through wearing baggier clothing
lot.
as to hide their body or changing their hair color in order to fit in. For others, it can lead to body dysmorphia, eating disorders, and plastic surgery. For others still, it can lead to extreme anger and dependency issues, which go on to destroy their lives. Insecurity is seen as a petty, simple emotion, one that most refuse to admit to feeling, but the consequences of it can be deadly. Welcome back to another episode of Dreading. Today, we are going to be covering the murder of Lana Clarkson and the man who killed her, Phil Spector. If you are interested in seeing more of this kind of content, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. And feel free to share this video as YouTube does restrict true crime videos. With all of that out of the way, let us begin. Phil Spector was born
That
Harvey
was a
Philip
lot.
Spector
I
on December
kind of
26,
can't get over it.
1939, to his parents Benjamin and Bertha. In his book, Tearing Down the Wall of Sound, The Rise and Fall of Phil Spector, Mick Brown talked about Phil's early life, how his father unexpectedly took his own life.
It was not a happy childhood. It wasn't. I mean, when your father blows his head open, you know, it's not funny. And it leaves a scar on you.
How his mother then moved him from New York to California, where he never felt like he fit in, and how he was not only bullied in school for his diabetes and asthma, but at home as well by his mother.
Jesus.
They ostracized me in high school. They had nothing to do with me. I was not popular. We were poor, but the rest of the school was wealthy, middle-class white Jewish kids who were very stuck up.
This dude couldn't look
But I
creeper if
was
he
not part of
tried.
it.
Okay,
I couldn't
J-Rod, we don't judge books by their
made
covers until we know that they're
myself
pieces of shit.
because
Then
I
we can
played
call them
guitar,
ugly.
And
You chose a good time to show up. It was rough before. It was rough.
get A's in in certain classes.
We do?
So they could stay
I
on
don't know.
the team,
I don't know his
and
story. I don't know
ensure they
anything
would
about this
protect
guy.
me.
But okay, if you know he's a piece of shit, then I trust your
Physically,
judgment a lot more
and I
than
got the football players to protect me.
a lot of
I've
people.
always had bodyguards. I've always had security. It tends to keep riffraff away. It tends to make a statement that you're isolated, you're protected, and it tends to send a statement out that you prefer to be left alone.
Because of his harsh upbringing and his sense of never quite belonging, Phil became somewhat of a recluse. Instead of hanging out with friends after school, going out on the weekends, or spending time with his family, Phil instead walled himself off in his room, listening to music and letting it carry him away from his...
You guys, I just had the best idea. It's the best one. I just had the best idea. Okay, so the bear that I'm going to make for Bear Taffy, what if I made it a ghost? What if I made it a ghost bear? Because it's like creepy crochet. But it's also Bear Taffy. I bought the eyeballs for the Bear Taffy thing today. J-Rod, you missed the haul that I got at Michael's today. I got a bunch of neutral yarns and I got eyeballs for the bear. I will show you those at least. But like, yeah, I could do it in like a white tweed. That's interesting. Would it still be cute? It would, I mean, it would just be the top half of his like mascot guy. And then the bottom half would be a ghost. So I will make it like come down to a point all waggly. And it would be white. I think it would be so cute. Here's the eyeballs I got. I don't know if you can really see those. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to make it a ghost. Oh my God, I just like literally cannot. I'm the worst one, but you guys saw it. Okay, I'm unpausing. I'm sorry. That was the best idea I've ever fucking had. That was the best idea. I'm so happy about it.
his world. He found solace in sound and became somewhat obsessed with becoming a part of the industry, feeling as if his success would be a sort of comeuppance for the people who doubted him. Revenge and spite were the biggest motivators
How
in
did
Phil's
I miss
life.
out
After
on
being
this
picked
guy
on
who's
for
so
everything
fucking
from his
weird
small
looking
stature,
and
his weak frame, and his large ears
was
that
a
stuck
bad
out
guy,
promptly,
I guess.
Phil
How did
longed
this
for a day
pass
when
me
he would be
by?
able to walk into any room and have people know who he was. When he saw Elvis perform, he saw how both men and women revered him as a kind of god. He knew that above all, he wanted that for himself, and so he dedicated himself to the art of making music. His first attempt at breaking into the industry came in 1958, when he was just 19 years old. Phil and some classmates from Fairfax High School formed a band named the Teddy Bears, named after the Elvis song. Spector had also garnered the attention of record producer Stan Ross, who saw the potential in him right away and began to teach him how to produce music, which he was quick to absorb. Shortly after forming the band and learning the ropes from Ross, Spector wrote and produced the Teddy Bears single, "To Know Him Is to Love Him."
And we thought the youngsters might like to have a look at the Teddy Bear, so here they are singing, "To Know Him Is to Love Him." Kids?
It's about Jesus then, probably? It was big news for a while, years ago. Yeah, I don't remember.
The title of which was inspired by his father's gravestone. The band had already gotten a record deal with Era Records and had put out other songs, but To Know Him Is to Love Him was the first song that Spector was fully in control of, and it shot to the top of the charts practically overnight. The song quickly outsold all their other songs and reached the #1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100 singles on December 1st, 1958. Spector believed that the success of the song rested solely on his shoulders, as he had written, produced, and worked on every inch of it. Phil, the once timid, shy, and painfully insecure recluse who would spend his weekends locked away in his room, seemed to transform overnight into an egomaniac, convinced that he should be allowed to control every aspect of every record he was on.
He was very charming and he was very intelligent. He was incredible with the musicians, but he was also difficult with the musicians. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he was very controlling. He was very manipulative.
Era Records and the other producers that the band worked with were quick to push back, understandably feeling like they, the professionals, knew better than he did. But when the Teddy Bears' next singles failed to hit the top 10 of the Billboard charts, Phil felt as if he had been vindicated, and that only he had the ability to create music worthy of being #1. After a year of being together, the Teddy Bears disbanded. Many sources stated this was because Spector had crippling stage fright, but this rings untrue, as when their other singles and album failed to chart, they were dropped from their label. This surprisingly didn't affect Phil's growing ego, as he felt that the failure was due to the label purposely ignoring his wants and vision. He then formed the band The Spectors 3, which featured himself, Carol Connors, and Marshall Lieb. This band also didn't last long, with only 2 singles and an album being put out before they too would disband. It was only then when Spector realized his true passion for music wasn't in being in a band and being at the mercy of record executives, producers, and managers. He wanted to be the one in control and calling the shots, because he believed that he was the best and the music he made was better than what was currently being made. He felt passionately that he was the best musical mind in the business, and he was not afraid to state that.
So
Spector began working with and creating some of the top names in the music industry. Spector's production style, which he called the Wall of Sound, became famous in its own right, and he quickly became one of the most influential figures in the industry by the age of 21. However, he was horrible to be around. Every person who knew Spector has since come forward about their experiences with him, and while they will praise his musical ability and the songs he created, they all agree that he was a terrible person, with many stating outright that he lacked any sort of empathy for other people. When he was working as an A&R producer, procuring musical acts for record deals, he often would convince the talent to work under stage names, replacing them with other singers if they crossed him or failed to chart high enough. He refused to give any other artist credit on songs he worked on, feeling as though sharing royalties on a project was beneath him, and in some cases, he would outright refuse to let certain artists perform, which led to multiple careers being completely halted and destroyed. Spector's behavior on a good day was erratic and explosive. He projected his own insecurities onto everyone around him and felt as if they were constantly undermining his success. Their perceived judgment and incompetence then made it acceptable for him to respond in vitriol, assaulting them verbally and coming close at times to assaulting them physically. As mentioned, Spector was a man of small stature, standing at a modest 5 foot 5 inches. He had been bullied in his youth for his height, and despite his radical success in his chosen field and his undeniable fame, Phil remained incredibly insecure about his height, and whenever someone was taller than him and had to physically look down on him while he was speaking, he took it as an insult. Without question, he knew he was physically outmatched, and if a fight were to break out between himself and another able-bodied man, he'd more than likely lose. So Phil started collecting and carrying guns with him at all times, shooting them wildly whenever he was upset. Even in the recording studio, Phil would threaten any person who dared to get in his way, even if the transgression was as small as not singing the note perfectly the first time.
Well, working with Phil is very difficult because
treated with
I guess he's a
martial
perfectionist,
arts,
so he likes to spend a
in
lot
my
of time
opinion.
redoing things and re-listening, and
That
it's
shit'll
very
sort you out.
time-consuming. It becomes very hard for, I mean, rock and roll's got to be spontaneous and done a little faster.
I like
110,
beauty to
120,
be
130.
instant, you know, and not to be labored
20
over.
more.
And I don't like music to be a hustle. You know, I think we can adequately go into a studio and do it and not just be frustrated. And Phil seemed to be frustrated with us.
I think he's frustrated with himself, really.
He wasn't the most friendly guy I've ever met. He tried to be friends, but then he had a guns on him, and he wouldn't let me out of his house for a couple days. And you know, he wouldn't let, and then if he said if you want to play his pinball machine, he'd let you play it for a minute, and then he'd say, okay, everybody to another room. And I never met anyone like him, and I hope I, you know...
Now, he's just too difficult to work with, and it's too costly and time-consuming, and in the 1980s, you know, you can't spend, I mean, the opening chord to a song of Rock and Roll High School, he spent 12 hours sitting there listening to that same chord over and over again. I mean, it's just not worth it. And nobody else could hear the difference. The chord came out sounding okay, but 12 hours worth ain't really worth it, you know? You just go crazy. You would be as crazy as him.
Yeah, he has a lot of
We wanted to work with
untreated mental
Phil
illnesses going
because,
on, for sure.
I mean, the guy is a legend,
I feel
and we
a little
thought
bit
it'd be
bad
a very
for
good
him,
idea to work
but
with a
also
legend.
he has stalkers,
And
so it's hard
you never
to,
know when it'd be his last project.
It's hard to empathize. I do.
And plus, we didn't really know how difficult it is to work with the guy before we stepped into it. We found out.
You know, like when before I wanted to work with him 100%, and I was gung-ho for the project, but he came off differently. He seemed more positive and more able. And when I got into the studio, I found him to be like a helpless little boy or something, like a very helpless person. He didn't know what to do. And that just stifles creativity when you just hang around in agony and frustration and stomp your foot and say, oh, what are we going to do?
People are the most dangerous gun carriers in a big fucking way. Zeppelin Zoso couldn't have said it better myself.
There would be glances going back and forth. You know, brace yourself for it. And then the gunplay started. There was a time with John Lennon. There's actually a story that he shot the ceiling. I actually
yeah,
I was there,
J-Rod,
I saw it.
Fucking, it's good for you.
Thermostat off the wall.
And
Same,
John
Zeppelin.
said to him,
Same.
I don't mind if you're trying to kill me, but I do need my ears. So
I
knock it off.
feel like
The
they're
whole time I was
just as much
gunplay got
victims
worse
as
and
anybody
worse.
else, you know? Like,
And at one point, he came up to Leonard Cohen
it's
and
horrible
stuck
what they
a gun
have done.
right in his neck.
But like,
Phil said to him, don't worry, Leonard,
society
I love
failed
you.
them too,
And
you
Leonard
know?
said, I sure as hell hope you do.
But Phil's abusive tendencies weren't isolated to his professional life, though. His need to be in control ran deep, and when he met Veronica Bennett, professionally known as Ronnie Spector of the Ronettes, he enacted years of abuse onto her. Phil felt as though he was solely responsible for her success, and thus she was his property by default. After the two were married in 1968, he purposely tanked her career, forbidding her from performing or
Jesus.
making new music. Spector would keep her imprisoned in their home, which Phil referred to as the castle. He placed a barbed wire fence around the perimeter of the home, kept guard dogs on the property, and went so far as to hide every pair of shoes she owned, so she wouldn't be able to escape or get help.
Tell me about the marriage, if you don't mind me asking.
The marriage was fine at the beginning. You know, and we were in New York and making records, and we got married in 68, and I lived in a 23-room mansion, and I couldn't get out of it. That was bad.
Why couldn't you get out?
Well, the doors were locked from the inside.
I'm sorry, were people just
And if I
laughing
wanted to
in
go
the
out,
audience?
I'd have to ask him, you know, can I go
The
outside?
fuck?
Then I'd have to ask a security guard, and they would ask Phil, and Phil would say, what do you want to go out for? I said, well, ice cream, bananas, you know, I'd make up things to get out, and he'd have them bring it in.
So it was a happy marriage, but then eventually things didn't work out.
It was a happy marriage for about a year.
Yeah.
Till I realized I was in a maximum security lockup.
Frontwoman Ronnie married the eccentric hitmaker, who she says became her tormentor.
The gates were up, and the barbed wire, and I found myself in a prison. I couldn't get out.
Ronnie Spector told Inside Edition in 1991 that Spector threatened to take her life.
If you leave, I'm going to kill you.
He kept a custom-made gold glass-top coffin in their basement and often told her that if she ever left him, he'd kill her and promptly display her corpse in it. And for Christmas one year, surprised her by adopting two twin 5-year-old boys in an attempt to manipulate her into staying with him.
We were adopted into the family with the intention that we would keep her prolonged into the family. We were meant to be shackles for Ronnie.
When Bennett would eventually escape, running barefoot out of their home and getting help, Phil continued to try to control her by stating he would hire a hitman to kill her and make it look like a suicide if she didn't agree to forfeit all future earnings from her songs and surrender custody of their adopted children. Their sons were also not precluded from his horrific abuse, as in 2003, they claimed that he had also imprisoned them in the home, locked in the rooms for long periods of time, and only let out when Phil wanted to see them.
They once told Inside Edition the mansion was like a prison.
Go to school, come back from school, get locked up back in our room again until dinner, come back down, eat dinner, no talking, go back upstairs and locked up.
The boys also claimed that when they were let out or visited by their father, he would sexually abuse them. They stated that on multiple occasions, they were blindfolded and forced to perform simulated intercourse with Spector's girlfriend. Spector himself allegedly claimed that this was meant to be a learning experience for the boys. Despite how vitriolic and dangerous Phil was to absolutely everyone in his path, he remained one of the biggest names in music, with John Lennon actively seeking him out to work with him on the Beatles' Let It Be album. By this time, it was well known how terrible Phil was to work with, but still, some of the biggest names in music were seeking him out and validating his behavior. And even when Phil pulled out a gun whilst recording, Lennon was able to laugh it off, telling Phil if he was going to shoot near him, he might as well just shoot him, because otherwise he'd damage his hearing. For more than half his natural-born life, Phil Spector had been allowed to bully, attack, and demoralize everyone he came into contact with. His wives were treated as property, his colleagues were shot at and attacked regularly, and his sons were sexually abused repeatedly, and everyone around him allowed it, thinking that this was just what it cost to work with a genius like him, and no one dared speak up about him or call out what he was doing, lest they suffer even more of his wrath and lose their careers. So it came as no surprise to anyone who knew him that after years of assaults behind the scenes and attempted shootings, that on February 3rd, 2003,
Sorry, I tried
Phil
to
finally took a
crochet
life.
upside down here.
Lana Clarkson was everything that Phil was not. Lana was beautiful, vivacious, and no one who knew her had a bad thing to say about her. Lana was the type of girl who easily could have been mean or vapid, and everyone around her would allow for it because of her looks. But she never was, choosing instead to put everyone ahead of herself, and doing what she could to help. Unfortunately, the majority of the reporting around her life and death is centered around the man who killed her, with articles mentioning her as an afterthought. However, her life was much more than that. If you are going to look more into the life of Lana Clarkson, I encourage you not to search Google images, unless you are prepared to be confronted with images of her dead body, as they are unfortunately one of the first results. Lana
really
was born
sad.
in Long Beach, California.
How did I miss
to her parents,
this?
Donna and James Clarkson. She was raised with her brother and sister in Sonoma County, California, until 1978, where, following
See you
her
later,
father's
Ronna. Have a good
untimely
night.
death, her mother moved the family to Southern California. While
control a lot
Lana
of
was
times
growing
in
up,
terms of
she
sexual
was
abuse of
always
kids, yeah.
told
Which
how
seems to line up with the
absolutely
rest of
stunning
his
she
behavior
was, and how she
100%.
could
What
be a
a
model.
fucking
But she
insecure
always
piece of
brushed
shit.
those comments off. She felt as if anything, she was pretty for where she lived, but not pretty enough to make it a career. But shortly after the family's move and her being publicly scouted by a small modeling agency, she realized that she could actually thrive in the entertainment industry. She started with modeling, which took her around the world. Despite never booking any large campaigns for designer brands, she was flown to Greece, Japan, Switzerland, and Jamaica for photo shoots where she was the star. It wasn't long until the glamour and fun of living the working model life began to bore Lana, and she wanted more. After speaking with her agent, Lana began to go out for acting roles. She knew that her looks could open doors for her, but she was hoping that she could wow Hollywood with her charisma and talent. Almost immediately, she began to land bit roles in television and film. Most of her film and television appearances were guest roles and bit parts with few speaking lines, but Lana didn't mind. She was determined to work her way up the Hollywood ladder until she got her big break, and in 1983 she finally did, when she was cast in her first Roger Corman movie, Death Stalker. Roger Corman was famous for making B-list horror and science fiction movies, with his latest works being Sharktopus in 2010 and Piranaconda in 2012. He was an incredibly successful movie maker who focused mainly on making campy movies that weren't meant to be taken seriously. And when he met Lana, he knew he had struck gold. Roger quickly cast her in multiple of his upcoming projects, starting with Death Stalker, where she played a female warrior who was the main love interest in the movie. Directly after that, she was cast as the lead in the film Barbarian Queen, where she was the titular Barbarian Queen. After that, she signed on to be a part of the sequel, Barbarian Queen 2.
I want to be the
Empress
Barbarian
Strikes
Queen.
Back. The title clearly parodying The Empire Strikes Back, which had come out 7 years before, as well as his movie Vice Girls, where she played a cop working undercover as a stripper. These movies were meant to be cheesy and fun. However, Lana took them incredibly seriously. She wanted to be a real actor who was proud of her work, and she gave her all while on set, even when the movies didn't call for it. Because of that, When Lana realized that the Warrior Queen movies had garnered a kind of cult-like audience who loved the movie in a semi-ironic way, she was insulted at first. She wanted her work to be taken seriously, and she felt at times that she was being laughed at. But as the years would progress, Lana would interact with more and more of her fans, realizing that how they enjoyed and appreciated her work didn't matter. What mattered is that they just enjoyed it. She began making promotional appearances at comic book and sci-fi conventions, at times even going the extra mile and dressing in her costume from the Warrior Queen movies. She would sign autographs for hours, talk to every fan she could, and made a point to stay until every last person who wanted to meet her had. At the same time, Lana began volunteering her time at Project Angel Food. This was a charity that delivered food to people suffering with AIDS or HIV during the height of the AIDS epidemic, which was seen as something incredibly dangerous to do at the time. There was virtually no research or aid given to people suffering at the time, and because of the lack of solid research given, most people had no idea how AIDS or HIV could spread. Sufferers would be socially ostracized and isolated, so Lana dedicating her time to helping those people just goes to show what an amazing person she was. Unlike Spector, who at this time was getting a custom gold coffin made to terrorize his wife.
I never
As Lana
got
entered
it,
her
and
30s,
I'm
her
a
work
pretty social
opportunities
dude.
began to dry up. Studios and agents
you couldn't
thought she
tell
was
by
getting
my
to be
comment
too
about
old, and despite her youthful appearance,
sure
looked over
would
for
have gotten
jobs
AIDS.
that she used to be number one on the call sheet for. But Lana was resourceful. She had been in the industry long enough to know that actresses and models have a harder time getting work after a certain age, and she had a plan. Firstly, she created her own website for her fans, where they could pay to buy memorabilia from her and signed posters and DVDs of her work. Her website also included a fan message board, where she would be in constant contact with her fans. Because of her frequent appearances at conventions and the huge cult-like following of her movies, she was able to earn quite a bit from this alone. She also decided that she wanted to try her hand at comedy and working as a comedic actress. While Lana
don't have a
realized
team
she
of
could no longer
barbarians to
go out
lead.
and get the young hot girl parts that she had previously gotten, she knew that if she just worked on her comedy skills, she'd be able to bag comedy roles no problem. And so, with the help of some of her friends in the industry, Lana began working on her own stand-up comedy act at various comedy clubs around town. As time continued to pass, Lana realized that she would need to supplement her income, and so she got a job as a hostess at the legendary House of Blues in West Hollywood. The House of Blues served as both a restaurant and a concert venue, and was incredibly popular. It was co-founded by Jim Belushi, and financed by celebrities like Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix, and the members of Aerosmith. Celebrities were constantly there, enjoying shows or just hanging out, especially at the West Hollywood location. For Lana, the job was perfect. It wasn't incredibly demanding, with her choosing to work part-time, but she got the job specifically because it put her in front of people in the industry, specifically the comedy industry.
That's smart,
her goal was
yeah.
to eventually meet some of the comedy legends that she admired and make such an impression
Man,
on
it
them
sounds like
that they
this lady
eventually
kinda
cast
ruled,
her in one
hey?
of their upcoming projects. However, Lana would never get the opportunity to flex her comedy skills or be in any more movies, because on February 2nd, 2003, Phil Spector came into her life. On February 2nd, 2003, Lana started her shift at the House of Blues as she usually did. Lana's job as a hostess
Yeah,
was
I'm gonna
simple.
be-
She was to basically ensure that
I'm
everyone
gonna be
was
live
having
for
a
a
good time
while
and stayed where they were
still.
supposed
We're gonna
to
take
be.
a
This
break
included
pretty
her
soon 'cause
getting
I gotta
people
pee, but I
drinks,
think I'm gonna go
seating
a little
them,
bit
and
late
all around
tonight.
just being a pleasant person. And people really liked Lana. Her long, blonde hair and her sincere smile made her stand out in any room, and people were constantly seeking her out, hoping to get her number or just to be able to talk with her for a bit. Partway through Lana's shift, Phil Spector and a date came in. This was actually Phil's second date of the night, having previously gotten dinner with another woman who spurned his advances to him and left. As previously established, Phil had quite the inferiority complex that manifested in him having an incredibly pronounced
year
ego.
is this?
He felt as if stopping and letting any of the hostesses
Is this
know
before
who he
or
was
after
before
or
making his way over
during
to the
the
VIP,
prisoner
therefore,
wife?
was beneath him, as everyone who was there should have already known who he was. Phil, along with his date, made their way towards the cordoned-off section hastily, but Lana was quick to stop him, telling him that that area was for VIPs only, and not publicly accessible. Lana had no idea who he was at the time, and seeing he was wearing a long wig, she also thought he was a woman, and used feminine identifiers when telling Phil he wasn't allowed in the VIP. This, obviously, set Phil off. This was a man who, at imagined slights, would pull a gun out and shoot around people in order to instill fear. So when this gorgeous 6-foot woman
This is
who
in
towered over him
2003?
called him a woman and said he wasn't important enough to sit in the VIP, he railed into her, calling her every name in the book. He informed her that he was the Phil Spector, the greatest thing in music, the man behind the greatest songs of all time, and he demanded she apologize at once, and she did. Lana was shaken after this. She had never been spoken to that cruelly in her life, and the fact that it was so public only added to the embarrassment. But she also felt terrible, because in her mind it was her fault. She was the one who made an error, not Phil, and she, being a people pleaser at heart, set out trying to make things right with him. For the rest of the night, she waited on Phil and his date hand and foot, apologizing profusely for what she had done and how she had accidentally disrespected him. She was bringing them drinks, comping food, and just going above and beyond to make sure he knew that any slight on her end had been an accident. Phil, being an egomaniac that he was, loved this. Having this stunning model all but grovel at his feet, begging for forgiveness, made Phil feel powerful, and he spent a good portion of his night reveling in the attention that Lana was giving him. At some point, his date decided that she had had enough of Phil's behavior. She felt uncomfortable and unsafe around Phil, especially because he kept trying to force her to drink more, and after a couple hours, she left. And so Phil focused his attention solely on Lana. However, Lana didn't like this. She had gotten this job to make connections in the industry and further her career, and she had attended to Phil that night in order to apologize, but she was in no way seeking a romantic or sexual entanglement with him. Phil began asking her to sit down and drink with him, to take a break and just hang out, but Lana said no. She wasn't really interested and was working, but he didn't let up, pressuring her over and over again, telling her that it was okay because he was the Phil Spector, and her bosses wouldn't mind if she drank a bit with him. Eventually, seemingly to get him to stop, Lana did drink with him for a bit, but if anything, this made Phil worse. When it was time for her to clock out and go home around 2 a.m., Phil followed her out and began to pester her to go home with him. Everyone who was physically present attested to the fact that Lana rebuffed Phil's advances. It was clear that she was uncomfortable. She didn't want to go anywhere with Phil, but she also didn't want to be rude. Again, this was the Phil Spector. He was a big deal, and having him on her side could lead to opportunities for her. But more importantly, spurning him could be just as impactful on her life, if not more so. Phil had already made it a point to blacklist his exes and try to ruin their careers. And that very night, he threatened to get Lana fired. She knew he could either help her or hurt her. And so, eventually, Lana agreed to go with Phil. Lana got into his limousine, and the two were driven by his chauffeur to his home. From this point on, we don't 100% know what had occurred. We know what Phil Spector stated happened, and what the evidence at the scene tells us. But since Phil died in 2020, and never admitted to his part in the crime, we can never know for sure what occurred when Phil and Lana went to his home. However, we will go over both accounts as to what happened.
Okay. This is a good time for us to take that break. I'm sorry, I gotta pee. We've done a lot of hydrating today, hey? All right, hang tight. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. And we will continue this in 3 minutes. Henlo at me. Fuck. I fucked up. Ah, jeez. I really need a bigger desk. Like a much bigger desk. All right. Is everybody ready? Can I get 4 readies in chat real fast and we will go forward. Hi, Keek. Hi, baby kitty man. How are you? To be fair, I think there's a bit of speculation going on from the dreading guy on what was actually going through her head. Yeah, I think that that's fair to say. I think that that's definitely fair to say. We can't know what she was thinking. I have 1 ready. Could I please get 3 more? Well, of course, she wasn't interviewed about how she felt, but I've seen that too many times where someone takes unwanted sexual advances so they don't cause confrontation or to be rude. Hi. Like, I feel like almost every woman my age anyway has. I feel like this generation is a lot better about not pressing and about knowing what consent is and knowing what your rights are. I mean, like, socially, you know? He keeps saying she didn't want to be rude, for instance, but it's also possible she was going, shit, this guy can ruin my life. How do I placate him? I kind of feel like that's used interchangeably in her position, hey? Man, I really only have 2 readies in chat, hey? Maybe everybody got up to get sodas or whatever? There we go. I like that. Playing hard to get was the worst social construct to grow up with for sure. I can imagine that that was really brutal. Ugh. I never did that shit. Boys were like, do you like me? I'd be like, fuck yeah. Let's do it. Okay, I'm pausing. Thank you, everyone.
What are you reporting?
Hi, my name is Adriano. I think my boss killed somebody. Please, can you send me
You think your boss killed somebody?
Yes, yeah. Because I'm a driver, I'm waiting outside and I don't know what.
And why do you believe he may have killed somebody?
Because you have a lady on the floor and he has a gun in his hand.
Okay, stay on the line. Do not hang up. Did you hear him shoot her or anything?
Yeah, I heard like a noise, and then he opened the door, and I think I killed her.
According to Phil, when Lana and he entered the home, he took her and gave her the grand tour. After showing her about the house, she then, without provocation, took a gun out from one of his drawers, somehow knowing a gun was in that drawer without him telling her, brought it up to her mouth, and either placed it in her mouth and purposely pulled the trigger, or, according to multiple emails he sent to his colleagues and friends, kissed the barrel of the gun and accidentally shot herself in the face. He then rushed outside, informed his chauffeur of what happened, and urged him to call the police. Before going back inside, scared and confused as to what had occurred. From the crime scene, as well as witness testimony from the chauffeur, Lana and Phil went inside the home around 3 a.m. Phil then plied Lana with more alcohol while showing her around the estate, taking her to all the rooms, trying to impress upon her how wealthy he was in an effort to get her to stay. After a short while, Lana tried to leave, and Phil, as he had done previously, flew into a rage. He had, as he had done before to at least 4 separate women after nights out drinking just like this one, pulled out a gun and put it to Lana's head, telling her that if she tried to leave, he would shoot her. But unlike those other times, Phil pulled the trigger, killing Lana instantly, at which point Phil wandered around the house, pacing with the gun, drunk and belligerent. They were inside for less than 2 hours before the chauffeur heard a loud noise, presumably the gunshot, and went to check it out, at which point Phil opened the door carrying a gun with blood on him and said,
Fuck.
"I think I killed her." Phil then closed the door and walked back inside, leaving the chauffeur outside, confused and concerned that his boss had killed the woman he had talked to mere hours before.
I can't believe this was in 2000. How did I not know
After
about
Phil,
this?
in his drunken and drug-addled state, told his chauffeur that he believed he had murdered Lana, the chauffeur decided to call the police, but not before trying to call Phil's personal assistant, Michelle Blaine. Michelle was Spector's right hand, and while he was constantly belligerent and aggressive, she was incredibly business-savvy and enterprising, usually putting in the legwork that Phil couldn't. However, Michelle was asleep at the time of the call, and so, without any guidance from his bosses, the chauffeur called the police, stating he believed his boss had killed someone. The cops arrived at the castle quickly and began to discuss how they were going to approach the situation. They knew that Phil had guns, and they were going under the assumption that someone had just been shot. These situations usually call for entire SWAT teams and special units, and the responding police were trying to get their plan of action together when Phil, still drunk, walked out of the home, repeatedly saying, "You are not going to believe this. Wait until you see what I did." The police quickly drew their guns on him, not knowing if he was still armed, and they called out for him to put his hands above his head, which Phil did before immediately forgetting, putting them back into his pockets, and continuing to walk towards them. They asked him again to stop and put his hands over his head, and he did again before, once again, putting them back in his pockets and walking towards them. They warned him as he continued to approach, telling them that there was a dead woman inside, that if he didn't stop and get his hands out of his pockets, he would be tasered. But Phil didn't listen and was promptly tasered and handcuffed before the police entered his home. Almost
I love how when
immediately,
it's a
they
rich
found
white
Lana.
guy, it's
Her body was
tasered.
slumped over in a chair in one of the first rooms in the home, with a gun on the ground at her feet. By all accounts, it did look like she had shot herself and dropped the gun immediately after. However, nothing about the scene made sense. How did Lana know where the gun was? Why did she choose a gun that had to be taken out of a drawer and not one of the many on display? If she shot herself, and Phil had not come into contact with her body after the fact, why was there blood tracked all around the house? And why were there no fingerprints on the gun if it hadn't been wiped down after it was shot? As the cops surveyed the scene, taking pictures and gathering evidence, Phil was seated in the entryway of his home, waiting to be transported to jail for further questioning, and he refused to stop talking. The gun went off accidentally. She works at the House of Blues. It was a mistake. I don't know how it happened, he said. What's wrong with you guys? What are you doing? I didn't mean to shoot her. It was an accident. He then complained about being put in handcuffs, stating that they had tied him up like a pig and that the officers were acting like they were so important and better than he was. As they continued to move around the house,
This dude
he
is
yelled
a
at
piece
them,
of shit.
"The
You were right,
LAPD
J-Rod.
works
He's
for
ugly.
me,"
He's
and
ugly
spoke
as
about
fuck.
how he was friends with the mayor of Alhambra and that they had asked him to have Bono sing at an event for him.
That fucking started me.
And I don't know what the problem was. If you certainly want me right to come to my castle, blow her head open, and say they're a murder. What the is wrong with you people? And he could come out and run through my house and climbing down like a pig. And you know, while somebody's dying there, and you know, and scare the out of everybody, while somebody commits suicide.
Even after killing someone, it seemed that Phil still needed to be placated by people and be told that he was a big deal. And why wouldn't he? Up until this point, Phil had assaulted, abused, and terrorized countless people. He had no reason to think that he would be held accountable at this point. Soon enough, Phil was taken back to the jailhouse and properly interviewed and immediately began to besmirk Lana's character and name. He called Lana a cunt for coming over to his house just to blow her brains out. He stated she was obviously crazy and that she was ruining his moment with this shit, mere moments after stating both that he had done this and that she had accidentally killed herself.
Oh my goodness.
Almost immediately, the cops knew that Spector was their killer. It made absolutely no sense for Lana to have killed herself, or for her to even have wanted to kill herself. While Spector and his lawyers would try to argue that Lana was depressed, having to work a normal job, Lana was actually excited about work. She loved talking to people, and as mentioned, she had a plan. She was working on her stand-up routine, networking with people in the industry, and things were beginning to look up for her. If anything, she was happier than ever. It was clear that the evidence pointed directly to Spector, but the prosecution wanted to make sure that the case against him was airtight before they went to trial. Because of Spector's immense wealth, power in the industry, and his high-status friends, they wanted to ensure that Lana got justice. It would take a bit over 3 years for Phil to be brought to trial for her murder, and when he was, it did not go as planned. Spector, ever vitriolic and ill-tempered, went through 3 lawyers. The first lawyer he worked with was Robert Shapiro, who famously defended O.J. Simpson. However, they quickly parted ways. The second lawyer he worked with was Bruce Cutler, who announced suddenly in court that he would no longer be representing Spector because they had a difference of opinion when it came to strategy. By the end of the trial, he was being represented by Linda Kenny Baden, who is also known for representing Casey Anthony. One of the reasons why Spector had such a hard time holding on to legal representation was, again, for his inferiority complex and his vitriolic narcissism. Phil believed that his lawyers were stupid, or at least not as smart as he was, and they were going about defending him all wrong. When his lawyers would hold press conferences in order to get the public on Spector's side, he would all but sabotage it, interrupting his lawyers and disagreeing with them in front of news cameras. When they would tell him that he had to stay silent, he would argue and claim they were sabotaging him and working with the police. While Phil was in between lawyers during the trial, he decided that he would make a video that, in his mind, would fully exonerate him in the eyes of the public. He asked his assistant, Michelle Blaine, to set up a camera and help him make a video where he told his side of the story. In his video, Phil never once states Lana's name. Instead, purposely dehumanizes her in an effort to distance himself from the crime. He refers to himself as the victim and tries somehow to blame the police for what had happened.
No.
I'm Phil Spector, and I've been accused of the most heinous crime that one can be accused of, and I'm here to dispel some of the most incredible rumors that have come out about me and the act that took place in my home, which is a castle. The evening in question, when the incident took place and we called for the paramedics, instead of the paramedics showing up, the police showed up and negotiated with me for 45 minutes before they came into the house, but no paramedics
What were they negotiating?
The injured party.
What does that even mean, Mr. Spector?
Who had administered a self-inflicted wound. Then after about 45 minutes, while the injured party could have possibly been saved from dying, because nobody knows what her condition was, alive or dead, the police decided not to enter the house as human beings and to protect and serve, but rather as animals, drunken animals, if you will, because I don't know that they were not drunk, because all I know is that they came in barnstorming like stormtroopers and overwhelmed me physically, about between 12 and 16 of them, from the Alhambra Police Department, and knocked me down, broke my nose, gave me 2 black eyes, cracked my spine, all which received medical attention afterwards, and I have medical documents to back all this up. And when they did not feel that was sufficient, they tasered me with 50,000 volts of electricity. And there was a dying woman there which needed medical attention, and there was still no paramedics there, yet we called for the paramedics. Did you tape Mr. Spector? No. Why? Duh. You know, I mean, those are the answers you get. You can indict, the district attorney can indict a ham sandwich.
I hate this guy.
The only women who have come forth that have said anything that had to testify under oath were the ones at the grand jury, and they lied. I can prove they lied by simply asking them to take a polygraph test. If they want to take a polygraph test, and the others who have come forth since were not asked to testify under oath. They just made statements to the DA. There's about 10 or 11 of them total. I'll show them how to make money. Here's a check for $100,000. The fingernail from the deceased's thumb, which is her trigger finger, was capped off because she pulled the trigger with it, and it was a false fingernail, and it came off. So half of it fell off on the floor, and the other, both halves split and fell on the floor. Apparently, Robert Shapiro said that he had half, and the police said they had the other half. Now, Robert Shapiro now says, I don't have the other half because that's obstruction of justice and he can go to jail for that. So he's denied, and then I fired him. I had been out to dinner and at the grill. I'd been to another restaurant, Dantana's, and then I stopped by the House of Blues close to closing time, and all to say, Bill Spector could never have done this. He could never stand up and shoot a girl in the mouth with a gun. Where's my history of this? How come for the last 40 years you've never heard stories about me pointing gun in women's mouths, blowing their heads open, and shooting women? And said, how come only after this Lana Clarkston incident did all this stuff come out? I've been functioning fine as a human being.
No DMCA, no DMCA, no DMCA, no DMCA, no DMCA, no DMCA,
For those of you who
please.
don't know who I am, I'm Phil Spector. In every famous crime trial, what is the most important thing that
Absolutely
one
torturing
has
myself
to
always.
have
Also, this
in
is very
order
loud. I'm going to
be
turn it
found
down.
Guilty of any crime. That is motive. Motive. Now, what her motive was for taking her own life, I don't know, and I really don't care. But it has come time for me to bring out certain...
You don't care that a woman who was last seen with you, spent all night with you, fucking came to your house and killed herself?
About an incident that happened in my home on February 3rd, 2003. They made me out to be this heinous, crazy, insane, psychotic person, yet I managed to raise a 22-year-old daughter who's beautiful, who's a straight-A student, and doing just fine, thank you. I have no problems with my life, and yet these people are out to destroy me. Somebody comes to your house, takes their own life, and you're put on trial. And that's the way it's happened, and for 2 years, nobody has come to my defense. I've lost my reputation, I've lost all my friends, which were not my friends to begin with. I can't work, nobody asked me for my autograph for the right reasons. Everybody stares at me. I did not have anything to do with her death. She may have accidentally taken her own life. She may have purposefully taken her own life. She may have been eating the gun with her, dancing. She may have been doing anything. I don't know why, when, how, or where, in what circumstance she may have taken her own life, whether she planned to or not.
Throughout the trial, the prosecution focused on Spector's history as a violent and aggressive person, how he had a reputation for carrying guns with him to threaten others, and called multiple past partners up to the stand to discuss how he, on separate occasions, had placed a gun to their heads when they had tried to leave him. They touched on the evidentiary support, but delved deep into Spector's life and how something like this was inevitable. The defense, however, chose to try and paint Lana as a woman who had lost it all, who who was terribly depressed and was mixing medications with alcohol in an attempt to drown out her woes. They painted her in a completely false light, stating that years after using her body to get where she wanted in life, that her inability to get jobs left her feeling washed up and unwanted, that she had been suicidal for weeks, and when she saw the gun at Spector's home, she made the rash decision to end it all.
I feel like this
Surprisingly,
pattern is
despite how
written
the physical
very
evidence
poorly.
existed that showed that Lana would have been unable to shoot herself, wipe the prints off
Doesn't
of the
tell me
gun,
how many
and walk around the house
turning
before
chains
dying,
to
the
make
jury was hung.
between row
They
1
were
and row
deadlocked.
2,
A mistrial was
which
declared,
normally
and
means
once
you
again,
don't make
the
any,
prosecution prepared
but that
themselves
can't
to
be
take
true
Spector
and
to
work
court,
with this
and now
pattern.
fully aware of what tactics the
I'm
defense
gonna
was going to
do
use. This time, they focused on the physical evidence, on how Spector allegedly confessed
one
to
of
his own
these.
chauffeur, as well as the police, stating everything from it was an accident to she was a dumb cunt who had it coming. But this time, the jury came back, declaring that Spector was guilty of Lana's murder
Can
and
somebody
sentenced
please
him
tell
to
me
19 years to life in the
what
California
I'm supposed
State
to do
Prison System.
here? Fuck.
On January 16th, 2021, Phil Spector died at the age of 81. Most articles discussing his death acknowledge the murder of Lana Clarkson, the abuse of his other romantic partners, and his sons, but they emphasize his musical genius, how he developed the wall of sound in production, and how without him, we wouldn't have some of the greatest music of all time. But his musical talent doesn't negate the fact that he was a monster. No amount of skill makes what he
Fucking
did
wow,
to Lana
man.
or anyone else okay. He was a monster who assaulted his kids, abused everyone he knew, and the world is better off without him. Thank you for watching today's episode of Dreading. If you are interested in more content like this, please subscribe. If
This
you
is
liked
why you
today's
need to
video,
speak ill
hit
of the
like
dead
button, and if you
100%.
have
I
any content
have
that you would like
never
us to cover,
fucking
please leave
believed
that
that don't
suggestion down
speak
below
ill of the
and stay
dead
safe.
bullshit. Fuck Hitler. That guy's dead.
Everyone has had a bad day once.
Okay. Can I get 4 readies when we're ready to start the next one? Well, that was interesting. I can't believe I had never heard of that guy. Excellent. Thank you.
Everyone has had a bad day once in their lives. A day where it felt like the world was truly conspiring against you. A day where absolutely
I've had
everything
so many
seemed
of
to go
those.
wrong. And even a simple task, such as getting a tank of gas on your way home from work, seems stressful.
Did anybody
Sometimes that bad day turns into
anything
a bad
wrong
week.
with that
And
pattern? Like, what am I?
sometimes,
How many
not very often, it
turning
becomes a
chains am
bad
I supposed to do?
month
Am
or
I
even a
supposed
year.
to do
No
any?
matter how bad things get, no matter how much stress we are under, or how many things in our lives fall apart, we understand that that is just life. That there isn't someone actually conspiring against us to make our lives harder, to slowly but surely chip away at our success, or our psyche to make us lose it all. And sometimes, things just go as planned. Welcome back to another episode of Dreading. Today we are going to tackle a story about
It's
a
not
woman
about
who,
the next
like
stitch. It's
mentioned,
in
was
between the
going through a
two
rough
rows.
patch.
In
A
between the
woman who
two
had built
rows is what
herself
I'm
a career
supposed to
online,
do.
who was passionate about her activism, and who felt like everything she had worked for was slowly, methodically, and incrementally
I'm trying
being
to
taken away
start
from her,
row
all
3,
written and directed by the
but it doesn't
powers
tell
that
me
be.
how many
A
turning
woman who had
chains to
convinced
make.
herself that the only way to stand up against the people who were actively trying to suppress
Sorry,
her voice was to
CV.
kill
Thank
as many of
you.
them as possible. Today we are going to be talking
Well,
about Nassim Ogdam, the woman behind the 2018 shooting at YouTube headquarters. Before we begin, if you like this content, please
Work
like this
5
video and hit the
double-
subscribe button.
5 double
Also,
crochet
feel
in the
free to
next
share this
half
video as
double
YouTube
crochet
actively suppresses
space
true crime content.
is the
With that
stitch
in
to
mind,
begin
let us
row
begin.
4.
Nassim Ogdam was born April 1979 in
Do
Urmia,
too?
Iran.
Okay.
Nassim grew up in a
Thank
loving
you.
home with her
I appreciate
parents,
you very,
and
very
while
much.
not a lot of reporting has been done on her early life, she herself stated she was deeply cared for by her parents. Her family belonged to the Baha'i faith, which is a relatively new faith that was established in the 19th century in Iran and parts of the Middle East. The religion itself stresses unity amongst people and the planet, outright rejecting racism and nationalism in
Doesn't
order to
count
work
as a stitch.
towards
Okay, good to
unified
know.
world order
Thank you.
that ensures prosperity between all nations, races, creeds, and classes. The religion also believes that all faiths are created equal, as it is believed that all major religions were created to serve the same purpose, that being to honor God and unite people. Members of the faith are prohibited from drinking or selling alcohol, premarital or extramarital sex, and participating in partisan politics, as it is seen as aggressive and divisive. This faith specifically stresses unity between people above all else, and that was something that Nassim took to heart. Because of her faith, at the age of 7, Nassim decided she would forego the consumption of any animal products, as she viewed animals virtually the same as people. She felt as if these beliefs of unity amongst men and women should be extended to animals as well, and that any use of animal products was unethical. Not every member of her family had the same feelings as Nassim, and other members continued to eat meat. However, Nassim was steadfast and outwardly criticized any person she came upon who continued to consume animal products. Despite the fact that the Baha'i faith stresses togetherness and unity, in Iran, it is heavily persecuted, specifically because it is viewed as apostasy from Islam. Over 200 people in Iran were executed for believing in this faith, making the Ogdam's family's continued beliefs and practice incredibly dangerous. Because of the danger that came along with practicing the faith in Iran, the Ogdam family began to consider moving. Nassim's father, Ishmael, began to apply and seek job opportunities overseas, and finally, in 1996, when Nassim was 16 years old, he found one in San Diego, California, with the promise of a new job, as well as the knowledge that they could be free from religious persecution. The family set out to start their lives in the United States. While the majority of the family acclimated to their new surrounding, Nassim did not. In fact, it appeared to those who knew her that she outright rejected the move, choosing to identify as Persian online, and continued to speak primarily in her native language, Farsi. Her parents encouraged her to try and connect with her peers, and to give the culture more of a try, but Nassim was steadfast, choosing to isolate herself from her classmates, never having more than a couple of friends at a time. But what Nassim lacked in personal connections, she more than made up for online. Nassim was incredibly active online from the very beginning on the internet. Her mother stated Nassim became obsessed with the internet in a near fanatical way, choosing the internet over real life the majority of the time. There was only one thing that Nassim would choose over the internet, though, and that was animal rights activism. Over the years, Nassim would only grow more and more fanatical about her veganism and her beliefs that animals should have the same rights as people. She joined the People for Ethical Treatments of Animals, also known as PETA, and began attending the protests. In July of 2009, an article about the Marines' use of pigs in their training was published in various papers at Camp Pendleton in San Diego.
Welcome
This
for
article
real,
detailed
Bumble.
how the
Sorry
Marines
that you're
would
having
put
a rough
pigs
one.
under anesthesia, purposely stab and cut them in order to teach their recruits how to treat battlefield wounds and profuse bleeding. The training was also to prepare them for the gore they would likely see on the battlefield in order to lessen the trauma and shock.
That's
the article
fucking
also
nuts.
dictated that after the pigs had been previously wounded and treated, they would immediately be euthanized. After this article was
Jesus.
published, PETA organized a protest on August 12th stating that this training was unethical and inhumane. Nassim
I
herself
agree.
attended this protest, wearing a shirt that she bedazzled to say Planet Hell, pants that she had drawn blood droplets on, and carrying a sword, which she brandished at the military base. The San Diego Union Tribune wrote about this protest and interviewed Nassim as part of their coverage, where she was quoted as saying, "For me, animal rights equal human rights." This was far from the only protest that Nassim would attend with PETA. In fact, she became an integral part of the San Diego animal rights scene. However, as the years went on, she slowly stopped attending, not because her beliefs had waned. If anything, they grew stronger, but she realized that she could do more for her cause if she focused her attention online. In 2010, about a year after her appearance with a sword at the PETA protest, Nassim joined YouTube under the name Vegan Nassim. Nassim used this YouTube channel to promote her vegan lifestyle, showcase simple vegan recipes, as well as showcase her workout routine, labeling herself as a vegan bodybuilder. These were only a few of her passions, as she would also showcase her sewing abilities, wig styling, comedy, hand art, and more. Nassim didn't stop there, though. Because she was trilingual and able to speak English, Turkish, and Farsi, she created 3 separate YouTube pages to share her comedy and her beliefs. She also created a YouTube hand art channel, a Daily Motion account, her own Facebook fan page, and 2 websites, nassimsabz.com and nassimabc.com. While the majority of her content has been taken offline, Her Telegram page is still active and showcases some of her work, which is off-putting to say the least, with her posting graphic videos of animal abuse and torture in order to further persuade her followers and advocate on behalf of animals. These videos were filled with gore and animal mutilation, but
I
Nassim
fucking
believed
can't
they
handle
needed
that
to be
shit.
shown. In an effort to get more attention on her videos, Nassim also made vegan video parodies of popular songs, like Taylor Swift's Blank Space. This is that parody.
I'm so confused about.
Nice to meet you, can I kiss you? I could show you hidden things, pain, sadness, hate, crime.
What is
Cyber
happening
food.
here?
Oh my
Jesus.
brain, look at that meat, it looks like your next heart attack. Life's a game, wanna play. New job.
This
right,
is
cell phone.
off-putting.
This is all
Jesus.
you want, ain't it funny? Ha 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 ha. I know you hate me, but hey, let's be friends. I can make meat eaters angry in a second. They will tell you I'm insane, cause you know I hate the meat and you hate to change.
This is so uncomfortable.
Flower ice cream, hard cookie necklace, I could show you hidden things. Stolen lives, pretty pigs, eaten heads. You're the car baby on your road. Find out where you are, takes 1 month to find yourself. Oh no, the worst is yet to come. What's this, rat trap? Men screaming, pretending to be lions, chasing hands.
Do we have to watch the whole thing, Dreading?
There are nightmares everywhere. Don't know when this madness gonna be over.
When I say this is nightmare material, I'm with you. Got the flu, oh no! I hope you feel better soon.
They only want meat, egg, milk, skin, even if it's torture, murder. Don't say I didn't say I didn't warn ya. They will tell you I'm insane, cause you know I hate the meat and you better not hate to change.
Ugh. I'm so happy
Nassim's
that's over.
content, while off-putting, was ultimately successful. Her Farsi YouTube channel grew to be over 11,000 subscribers, and she had been welcomed into the YouTube Partner Program, which allowed her to place ads on her videos and earn a healthy living. Still though, she lived at home. All of her YouTube channels gave her a combined 20,000 subscribers, and she had over 50,000 followers on Instagram as well. But Nassim's success wasn't only online, as some of her videos on her Turkish YouTube channel were featured on various Turkish television shows, drawing her an even bigger audience. And according to her now defunct website, she also promoted her own channel through various ad spots. Nassim began to describe herself as the most famous Persian animal rights activist online, and she would probably be right. She had garnered quite the audience, and she would have been making a fair amount of money on YouTube. Her content, though at times gory, off-putting, and weird, like this video of her showing how to give a proper breast massage of what appears to be bra inserts, was doing exceptionally well. However, that would not last. Prior to 2016, YouTube was likened to the Wild West. The site had very little moderation, with channels making a living off of edgy comedy, reaction videos that broke copyright
go lay
law,
down,
and
your
videos
face
that
hurts.
showcased graphic
Why
content.
does your face
At the
hurt?
time, it wasn't
No,
hard to
I
find
hope that you
inappropriate
feel
sexual
better.
videos
I
on the
hate
site
that
as
you're
well, or
suffering.
find
I'm so
someone like
sorry.
Nassim, who would often showcase
What the fuck was that
graphic videos
drawing,
of
bro?
animal
It looked like a
torture. That
lady
all changed
squatting.
in 2016, with what is commonly referred to as the adpocalypse. The adpocalypse came in multiple stages, and many believe we are currently in the middle of the fifth adpocalypse right now. The first adpocalypse began August 2016, when YouTube announced that they would be shifting their focus towards more family-friendly content. Content that covered controversial issues began to see a decrease in their views, and videos that included certain search terms were shadow banned from the site, meaning that users wouldn't be able to find the videos organically unless they had a link. Shortly after this change, an article was published accusing the most subscribed YouTuber at the time, PewDiePie, of hate speech. The article caused widespread backlash against YouTube, with people calling for him to be deplatformed. In response, multiple companies like Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, and even the entire UK government stated that they would be pulling their ads from YouTube, which caused creators to see a huge decline in their revenue. Following their departure from the site, Logan Paul uploaded a vlog in which he visited
We
Japan,
migrate over to Twitch,
disrespected
hey?
the Japanese culture, and in a disgusting display of depravity, showed the body of a dead man that he had stumbled upon in the Aokigahara forest. Once again, multiple advertisers pulled out and stopped paying YouTube to advertise for them, fearing that YouTube would place their ads on videos that they deemed
Yeah, her
more
ass is like
controversial.
rippling,
YouTube's
like
response
she
to
let
these
out a
scandals
fucking
was
ass
swift,
blast,
and
maybe she
unfortunately came at the expense of the YouTube
I think it was
creators.
just made with
Prior to
a
the
mouse with
apocalypse
somebody who's not
and
very
YouTube
good at drawing
moving
with a
towards
mouse.
favoring family-friendly content, creators were purported to have earned $10 to $20 per 1,000 views, meaning that a video that reached 10,000 views could earn up to $200. Smaller channels were able to earn a good income off of fewer views, and many
Those were
chose
the
to quit their
days.
jobs because of this. However, after the apocalypse,
Making
channels
money
that
on
had been
YouTube
earning $10 per 1,000
was
views
nice.
were now earning $1, and they were seeing their views and
I was
subscribers
still-
decrease. With their
I was
videos
still
being
poor,
shadow
but I was
banned and
less
deemed
poor. It
inappropriate
was
in the algorithm.
awesome.
Other channels were noting that their entire back catalog of videos were being labeled as inappropriate and demonetized, meaning that they could no longer make any money on them. Creators who had hundreds of thousands of subscribers and earned upwards of 1 million views a month had the amount of money they were earning halved and had to scramble to stay advertiser friendly. Commentary channels like Leafy is Here, PewDiePie, and more made videos commenting on how swift and unforgiving the change was. Other creators chose to leave the platform, citing that YouTube refused to help its users utilize the platform. And other creators like Nerd City ended up making videos in which they explained how YouTube's
That
back
Nerd
end
City
actually
video
worked.
was
With
so
channels
fucking
with millions
good.
of
I really
subscribers
like a
discussing
lot of
how
their
hard the
videos.
shift had
It's sad
affected
that
them,
they are
it was no
NFT
surprise
bros.
that smaller
I had a
channels
dream that I
like
bought an
Nassim's
NFT and
were also
all my
affected,
money
albeit to a much greater degree.
disappeared.
Nassim had gotten used to earning a significant amount of money from her videos. Though she lived at home and didn't seem to have any bills to speak of, she greatly enjoyed the amount of money she earned online and the fame that came with it. So when YouTube labeled her videos as inappropriate and demonetized a hefty amount of her videos, she took that as a personal offense. The videos that we have showcased so far from Nassim have been her more palatable content. However, she was constantly posting videos that featured graphic, violent animal abuse. She would place the words murderer, rape, and abuse in her titles. And while some of her content was lighthearted and fun, the vast majority of it didn't fall under YouTube's new guidelines. Nassim felt as if she were being
Doxy
personally
NFTs
victimized
when?
by the
Literally
YouTube
never,
system.
if I
And
can
instead of
help it.
trying to work within their new guidelines, Nassim instead protested these measures. On her website, Nassim wrote this: "Be aware, dictatorship exists in all countries, but with different tactics. They only care for personal, short-term profits and do anything to reach their goals, even by fooling simple-minded people, hiding the truth, manipulating science, and everything. Putting public mental and physical health at risk, abusing non-human animals, polluting the environment, destroying family values, promoting materialism, sexual degeneration in the name of freedom, and turning people into programmed robots. Make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. Adolf Hitler." There is no free speech in real world, and you will be suppressed for telling the truth that is not supported by the system.
The Donald
Videos
Trump
of targeted
approach.
users are filtered and merely regulated, so that people can hardly see their videos. There is no equal growth opportunity on YouTube or any other video sharing site. Your channel will grow if they want it to. Nassim also began to complain that YouTube was conspiring with Google to hide her website, and that when you were to Google her name, it would no longer populate her official site the way it used to. She then posted this video, stating that YouTube was discriminating and filtering her content. In February 2017, Nassim traveled to the YouTube headquarters in Silicon Valley and held up a sign, protesting their attack on her channel. The sign read, "YouTube dictatorship. Hidden policy promotes stupidity, discrimination, and suppression of the truth." She then wrote her website name and "share if you hate discrimination," hoping people would see her sign and post about her cause. However, the protest attempt died on the spot. Nassim's anger went largely unnoticed, both by the public and by YouTube. Unfortunately,
sucks.
YouTube's support system doesn't prioritize smaller creators, and with her channels having less than 100,000 subscribers, she was nowhere near on their radar. But that didn't stop Nassim from feeling personally attacked and discriminated against. Every time she uploaded, Her videos were getting struck, entire channels of hers were being demonetized, and on Sunday, March 31st, Nassim had finally had enough. 3 days before
I don't know how
Nassim would
much I
attack
love
YouTube
that.
headquarters, Nassim got into a fight with her father. While we don't know what the fight was about, as the family has never spoken about it, but from the way Nassim characterized her dad on her YouTube channel and vilified him for choosing to eat meat, it was more than likely that they argued about that. Nassim had openly railed against YouTube, telling her mother that she hated the company and that they were personally attacking her. She felt as if everything in her life was conspiring against her, and she had had enough. She stormed out of the house.
Can't wait
and
for my
into the
fucking
night,
shit to
leaving her
get here. I
parents'
can't
home
believe it's not
for the
going to be
last
here
time.
until the 13th.
Nassim had done this
That's
before
such
a couple
bummer.
of times. In anger
It's
over
another
their lifestyle
5
and their
days.
choices, she
Ugh.
had made it a point to leave. So they presumed that she
There
would be
are
back.
a
They simply
couple of
needed some
things
time
that
to
I
cool
miss
off.
about
It wasn't
America.
until
Just a
no one was
couple.
able to reach her that they began to worry. After about a day,
Hi,
Nassim's
Sugar
father
Mama.
contacted the police, letting them know that she hadn't been seen in over 24 hours, and they considered her to be a risk to herself and to others. Her father would later go on to say that because of their fight and because of YouTube's continued attack on her channels, he believed that she could be a danger to herself and to others, and she might go to the headquarters to protest. That being said, Nassim didn't have any noted mental health or medical issues that the police were made aware of, which is usually needed to label a missing person at risk. However, Nassim's father told the media that he had indicated that he was worried that she was on her way to the YouTube headquarters, and there was a chance she could cause harm to them, seeing as
Okay.
earlier that year
I don't
she
know
had
if you
purchased
guys
a gun.
saw that
4
or
days
not,
later, at 1 a.m.,
but my
the cops found her
multi-tool just
white
moved
Pontiac
by
in a
itself.
parking lot of
I
a
know
Walmart in
that it
Mountain View,
probably
only
just
30 miles away
slid
from the
down,
YouTube
but it was
headquarters. After
very
running her car's
scary.
plates, the cops realized that Nassim was a missing person who could be at risk to
Okay,
herself
sorry,
or
I
others.
just had
Because
to say
Nassim
that
was a
'cause it was
38-year-old
scary as
adult
hell.
woman, she was well within her rights to go missing.
I just
and leave
realized
the
there's a
family
new
home,
Ghost
meaning
Adventures
the
on
cops
Discovery
had no
Plus tonight. I'm
obligation
so
to bring her
excited.
back to the home if she said she didn't want to be there. This interrogation was meant to see if she was mentally stable or a risk to her surroundings. It's also incredibly haunting that hours after this interrogation, Nassim would be dead.
5L32 Millview.
5032.
The plate you just ran comes back associated to a missing person out of San Diego. What's your 20?
I'm in the Walmart parking lot.
10-4. Can you just confirm the plate?
Fuck's sake. Okay, this is not going to be very fun.
City firm, it's going to be 5 Zebra Charles X-ray 469. It's on a white Pontiac.
10-4 A firm, so it's going to be a match. Should be a 2006 Pontiac, 2-door, and it's associated. Stand by one.
Did that work? Oh my god, I'm the fucking
Stand by,
greatest.
stand by, I have to pull up.
Ask me what it's like to be the fucking greatest.
10-4.
Same Bumble Kitty store. I can't help it. It's so scary. Oh wow, I actually parsed it. As Ghost Adventures. I cannot help but love those guys. I just do. I just love them.
5L32 Mountain View, clear to copy.
It took me longer than I care to admit
Go ahead.
to realize that DISP was short for dispatcher. I thought someone whose parents didn't love them was named DISP for a second. That's very funny.
Female 55110 Blackover Black.
I watch
79.
a lot of creepy shit, so I pick up on that.
Usually lives with her grandmother. Last seen around noon on the 31st of March.
Then again, everybody has brain farts.
Left in her Pontiac.
10-4. There is a female sleeping in the back seat of the vehicle right now.
10-4. 5L. Correction, B36 attached around distance.
Hey, so here. View 5L34. 10-7 an occupied vehicle. Oh, I gotta deal.
Mount B36. B36, go ahead. I'm sorry, I missed the reason why she's at risk. Me too, I'm trying to look for it. Stand by. B36, the category shows at risk, but there's no explanation for that. We're contacting San Diego right now to make sure she's still considered outstanding. 4.
I want Chex Mix really
Sheriff
bad
Missing, this
right
is
now.
Christine.
Hi, this is the Mountain View Police Department up in Northern California.
Uh-huh.
Hi, we are out with a vehicle that you showed to be associated to a missing person at risk.
Okay.
We are just trying to figure out what was going on with the case that made her at risk. She's like a missing adult.
Okay, what do you have for do you have the FCN by chance?
Let me see, hold on one
Or what information do you have for me?
I can give you the plate.
Okay, let me do that. What is the plate?
The plate is 5 Zebra Charles X-ray 469.
Oh no, Moth.
Actually, I could have given
You like Ghost Hunters? Sometimes. I haven't watched near as much. I find... Please don't... I find it more boring. And I know that probably makes it more authentic. I understand that. However, I kind of find all ghost shows to probably be hooey. But it's fun to be scared. And I feel like Ghost Adventures makes me scared. And sometimes Ghost Hunters is boring. It feels bad to say because I really like everybody on it.
Why they put her at risk.
I'm sorry. I feel bad. I feel really bad saying
weird.
that.
Entry. Sometimes they do it just because there's no prior missing.
Okay.
But let's see. They didn't say it all on here.
That's why Ghost Adventures is so fun, though, because it's so bad. I watch Ghost Adventures for the Aaron face.
Reports, it was unusual for her to just disappear. Nothing further.
I love him. I just love him. I want to hug that guy.
Here, the police specify that there was no reason that they were made aware of as to why she would be labeled as at risk.
Oh, yeah.
To people
I love
who have
Grave
watched
Encounters.
Nassim's content and gone over the
Is that
things she
supposed
said
to be a
online,
parody of
it is
Zachary?
very clear that there is
Aw.
some amount of mental illness
I love
that was
Zach,
being
too.
untreated.
I love...
However, no one in
honestly,
her life
I
could
love them
provide a
all.
reason
I
as to
just
why she was at
do.
risk. So she, as an adult, didn't need to be brought back to her home.
10-4.
I frequent the Ghost Adventures subreddit.
It's going to be 1031A, otherwise invalid.
Huh? Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, the at-risk might be she hasn't been missing before, and Dad was just like...
God dang it. A lot of tangles in this yarn, and it's driving me up the ding-dang wall. Let's put this in my lap for now.
$79, 30.
Oh, I see what's happening here. Okay.
Nah. Well, I mean, I saw him. I didn't see he was here. Her head's right here.
So sorry, guys.
Hey, police. Hello. Hi, are you Nassim? Hey, so you were reported as missing. Yeah, as missing from San Diego?
Yeah, I left my family.
Okay. You don't live with them anymore? Okay. Can I just ask, if you don't mind, why you left?
We don't get along together, so I left them.
Okay. Do you have ID on you by chance? So did you just decide to move, or?
Zach annoys me, but I like the rest of his crew. I love them all. I love them all. I just can't help but love
Were you
those
just not
guys.
getting along with your family? With your brother? With your father?
I was
How long you
really
been here in
resistant
Mountain
to
View?
Billy and Jay joining the team. I really thought that Billy was like super attention hungry at first, but he grew on me really fast. I adore him. I adore them all.
I guess you've never done that before, huh? Okay, so your family was worried about you. Okay. I guess they called San Diego Police Department and reported you missing.
Oh, you didn't tell your parents or family or anything?
What do you awful women want?
What do you
Imaginary
awful
Monster
women
is
want?
hosting with 7 viewers.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
the raid. I'm Zero Doxy. I like butts and farting and creepy stuff and crochet.
You don't have a phone? Or you didn't
Welcome to
answer?
my stream.
But did they try calling you?
My main phone that I used to call to them, I left it there. I didn't bring it.
Evening. How are ya?
Okay.
Thanks so much for the raid.
Oh,
What were y'all
Do you have
up
a phone
to?
on you at all?
Right now, yeah, I have a phone.
You have a phone?
They don't know that number.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Do you mind if I have it? I won't give it to them.
I don't know the number.
You can probably find it on your phone.
I just did this whole fucking row wrong. I just did this whole fucking row wrong. I fucked up. Fuck's sake. My partner had no idea we were talking about Ghost Adventures, and he poked his head in and said, "Understand."
Okay.
We want answers.
You don't want to hurt yourself, do you? Or you don't want to hurt anybody else? You don't want to commit suicide
Mostly
or anything
sketching,
like
but
that,
getting
right?
some good things blocked in. Hell yeah.
When asked if she was taking any medication or if she is supposed to take medication, Nassim looks directly at the officer and says no, while shaking her head. She is then immediately asked if she wants to hurt herself or hurt others, at which point she turns her head completely away from the officer and back to the phone in her hand. She shakes her head, but doesn't say no. The complete turn and change from verbal confirmation to timid nonverbal when unnoticed by the police. However, in retrospect, it does indicate that she had already decided what it was that she was going to do.
That's
Are
very
you ever
sad.
planning on going back home? No? Okay, fair enough. Do you have any friends or anybody out here?
I
No?
can't believe how nice these
So
cops
where
are
did you
being
go
to a brown
when you were From San
person.
Diego. It didn't take you a month to get here, did it? It didn't take you a month to get here, did it?
No, I left yesterday morning and at night I was here.
Oh, okay. So you left yesterday.
Oh, just 2 days ago.
Yeah, for some reason I thought it was. Oh, you're
31st
right.
of March.
Okay, March 31st. Okay, yeah, you're right. March 31st. Okay. Okay.
And then you just drove straight here?
Why Mountain View? I mean, I know it's a great city and everything, but.
One of my cousins lives around here.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to get out of those areas. South San Diego, I have memories. I don't want to have.
I gotcha.
Okay.
Same fucking hat,
Start fresh.
Doxy. Oh, did you fuck
Okay.
up a row ago also? Oh no.
Ah, very good.
Yikes,
Nasim
yeah,
lies
much
about why she
patience,
chose
need more of
Mountain
that,
View.
absolutely.
However, her reasoning as wanting something new
agree.
is something that plenty of people in between housing would state when talking to the police. So it raised no red flags. California is also an incredibly popular state with people living out of their cars. So no doubt the cops thought nothing of her weak reasoning.
Okay, fair enough.
I do not ever want to live out of a car again. That shit sucks. It sucks.
Okay. So if you go into
The
your
entire
settings,
finished
or you're going to
waistband.
your phone,
Oh no,
where
I'm
your
so
phone is at,
sorry.
Go all the way back. Go all the way back to your, and go to your phone here. And it should say. Can I see it? Is that okay?
Oh,
This is a drawer Android, right? So that's why I don't know how to work it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Usually it says on there.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is that we sometimes get people that park their stolen vehicles here, and so we run all the plates that are out in the parking lot. And when he ran the plate, it came back to you, but it came back as a missing person. At least in an iPhone, it's usually in the phone.
I could just call my own number, I guess. Because for Android, usually it's within the settings under.
Go back.
3 half double crochets in the next half double crochet space from
more.
previous row.
Never mind.
Okay.
Like a Siri type thing?
Let's
Or
do
Siri
it.
Type? No.
The Android doesn't have
It has
Siri, but it has
Google Assistant.
I think I've mentioned before that I've been studying homelessness this last year, and it turns out that almost half of all homeless people in the U.S. are in California. That's unsurprising. It's mild and temperate. You have the ocean. There's lots of like free showers and stuff out there. It's not surprising.
Nah, I don't want to. I just call my work still.
That's fine.
That'll work.
So all we're gonna do, we just had to make sure that you were okay. So we have to call your dad. We're just gonna let him know that you're fine and you wish not to be contacted. And we check your well, we have to tell him. We have to tell him that we found you, right? But I mean, legally we have to do that. We have to say, well, we found her. She is fine. She left home because she doesn't want to be there anymore, and she doesn't want to be contacted. And that's all we tell them. Okay? And then if you choose to contact your family, you can. But what we'll do is we'll take your name and the car out of the system, so you won't be reported missing anymore. Okay? Is there anything you want us to tell your parents? Okay.
Okay. Alrighty.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have the hang of this row now. That took some getting used to.
After Nasim's brief encounter with the police, she seemed to be galvanized in her cause. She had lied to the police when she stated that she didn't want to cause harm to herself or anyone else, as she had spent the prior day at a gun range preparing for what she had planned to do. In the morning, Nasim traveled the 30 miles from Mountain View to San Bruno and parked in a parking structure located across the street from the YouTube headquarters. She then walked onto the campus and found the open outdoor patio, where plenty of workers were sat eating lunch. After a moment, Nasim pulled out the 9mm Smith & Wesson semi-automatic pistol that she had bought mere months before this occasion and opened fire on the crowd. She shot sporadically with no set target and aimed to take down as many people as she could. She first hit 2 women who had been eating on the patio, ages 32 and 27. She then hit a man aged 36 as he fled the gunfire, hoping to get to safety. Fortunately, she wasn't able to hit anyone else. However, another person fell whilst fleeing and greatly hurt her ankle in the chaos. Almost immediately after Nasim started firing, chaos erupted. People in inside YouTube's campus had no idea what had occurred, and one worker tweeted out, "We were sitting in a meeting and then we heard people running because it was rumbling the floor. First, we thought it was an earthquake. Other employees tweeted while Nassim was shooting, barricading themselves in their offices and sending out a mass goodbye in case something were to happen to them. However, after the initial round of fire, Nassim seemed to realize that she wouldn't be able to do any more damage. Only 3 people had been hit, and already so much of the area had been cleared out. The cops had already been called, and she could hear their sirens, as it took less than 200 seconds for them to arrive on scene. It was then that Nassim decided to take her own life, placing the gun to her temple and pulling the trigger. Luckily, the only life Nassim was able to take that day was her own, while the 2 victims had been in critical condition when they arrived at the Zuckerberg Hospital in San Francisco. Absolutely everyone who had been injured had full recovery. However, thousands were affected by this tragedy. Nassim was undoubtedly suffering from some untreated form of mental illness and believed, without evidence, that YouTube and Google were conspiring against her. She believed wholeheartedly that the world at large and the powers that be were conspiring against her as well, because of her beliefs and her animal rights activism, and there was nothing anyone could do to convince her otherwise. After the attack, all of her social media platforms were taken offline, save for her Telegram page, where she posted in Farsi. It remains a time capsule and a look inside the mind of someone who planned to take as many innocent lives as she could, all because of a perceived wrong. Thank you for watching this episode of Dreading. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe down below. If you have a case you would like us to cover next, please let us know in the comments. And if you feel so inclined, please share this video. YouTube does suppress true crime content, and any support is welcomed. Have a good night, and stay safe.
Okay, well, that was a bummer as always. I think that we're going to call it here. We are 40 minutes past our normal end time. And we will get back to this very confusing vest tomorrow. It is Friday, so we will be going live earlier and ending earlier because we are going to raid Josiah for his paint stream because he does those miniatures. What all do I want to say? First, I'd like to thank my patrons. Oh, no. Oh, no. Hold on 1 second. Why you won't load? Why you do this to me? Give me just a second. I have a Patreon. If you guys would like to go look at it, I would appreciate that. So thank you to my 2 patrons, Laura Cody and Katie Bailey. I appreciate you so much. Follow me on Twitter so that you know when I go live. That's twitter.com/ZER0DOXY. And please join the Discord. You can give me patterns that you want to see me do. You can, it is announced in there every time I go live. And I hang out in there and say hi to people sometimes. And it's just all around a good time. So please come hang out with us. Make sure to keep an eye on YouTube. I just decided today that I think I'm going to trash the first video that I had made, and I'm going to make it better because it wasn't my best work, and I would rather put out something good than something lazy. So, and like, I would rather put out something good late than put out something lazy now. So, if you guys will just bear with me, I promise we will have some fun edited content on YouTube soon. I think that's pretty much all I have for you. So if you guys could just do, tell me your favorite cereal in chat so that you're nice and active and we can send a big fat raid somebody's way. I would appreciate that so much. Hang out and check out these ads while I find somebody for us to go and enjoy.
jail.